Yeah.
I meant to eat.
Oh, you don't feel your stomach's kind of. Okay, do you want one of these?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It's nice to have everyone here. Hi, Mark. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Welcome to you, too.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the public hearing on the special town meeting warrant for February 9th, the FinCom hearing, where we'll be discussing the numerous articles that are on the warrant that came out of the review process. Before I begin, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank all members of the review committee. Their chair, Sally Calhoun, is here. Thank you very much, Sally, and other members of the committee who are here. We're grateful for the work you did, and you gave us a lot to think about, talk about, and it was I imagine, a lengthy and exhausting process for all of you, and I hope you all came out better informed citizens as well. I know we've become better informed citizens reviewing the work that you did, so thank you very much. Also like to recognize Representative Sally Kearns, who's with us today. Please hold your applause to the end.
The other Sally.
As many of you may know, the work that comes out of the town meeting next month will require legislative action, and so we're very grateful for Sally's awareness of what's going on and her participation in the process. So thank you, Representative Kearns. We also have our new town council with us, Kate Conley, for those of you who are not aware of Kate yet and haven't had an opportunity to meet her. So thank you for being here, and we appreciate you being here. It looks to me that some of you may have never been to a Finance Committee meeting before, and so just kind of a quick overview of how things happen tonight. This is a public meeting, a public hearing, so you'll have an opportunity to speak at an appropriate time. Each article will be taken in turn. We will be taking one article out of turn as we go through the process. And we would ask that you're quiet during the deliberations until the time for the public comment is called for. There'll be an opportunity for members to speak. After the members all have a chance to speak, there'll be an opportunity for citizen comment. And once the citizen comment is completed, we'll come back to the committee for any further deliberation and a vote on each article in turn. That's the process, and we hope that you can all appreciate that, and we'll move through each article as thoughtfully and as expeditiously as we can. So with that, we'll turn to Article 1 of the town meeting, special town meeting, unpaid bills, to see if the town meeting will vote to appropriate a sum of money for the payment of certain unpaid bills for the previous years as shown in your warrant booklet. And there are copies of the warrant and explanation report at the back of the room if anyone needs a copy. And I'll ask Rodney Conley, our finance director, to get up and just quickly give a review of the article. Rodney.
Good evening. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a standard bill we see on our special town meetings. These are bills that were incurred in the previous fiscal year, and under Mass General Law, they require town meeting vote to approve to pay them in a subsequent year. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Ted?
I have none.
Paul?
Nope.
Mary?
No.
Eric?
None. Nope. Nope.
Ollie?
Thank you.
Questions from the audience on Article 1? Is there a motion?
Move the article. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article passes unanimously. Article 2, the Danvers Contributory Retirement System, COLA. Rodney?
Sure. So this is a vote to see if the town will vote to approve an increase in the base amount for cost of living adjustments for retirees. So essentially, annually, the Danvers Retirement Board, as well as every other retirement board in the state of Massachusetts, is authorized to vote a COLA increase. The maximum is 3%. Danvers, like most systems, routinely awards that 3%. It is not based on the full pension allotted to the retiree. It's what's based on a COLA base. So for Danvers, currently that's $13,000. We've monitored that over the past few years in comparison to other retirement boards, and the recommendation tonight would be to increase that to $14,000. which 83% of the current systems have a 14,000 or higher base. This has already been factored into our valuation, so it won't impact our ability to fully fund by 2035. And again, we're happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the committee? Wally?
I don't have any, thank you.
Mike?
What's the highest amount we would be able to increase it to?
That's a good question I don't know the answer to. There's some upwards of 15, 17, 20,000. Yeah.
Nothing?
We're not the lowest.
Eric?
Nothing.
Aaron?
All set?
Paul?
All set.
Ted?
Just so basically, it's 3% of 13,000.
Correct.
So really, it's like 1 or 2% of a typical pensioner's actual pension.
Correct.
That's my only question.
Good question.
Questions from the audience? Back to the board. Is there a motion? Further discussion?
Move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Article passes unanimously. We're going to move to Article 54, the recall bylaw. I think many of us know that we've had this before us as a citizen's petition twice before? Three times. So if there's any discussion, we'll start. Ted?
I do not have any questions.
Paul?
I'm for it.
Okay.
My only point is that I'm against it. Have been for 3 times.
Thank you. Mary?
The only concern I have is regarding the, what would be egregious, and who's determining that. The voters, yes. However, I am for passing it to town meeting for the town meeting members to vote for it, or against, but giving them the choice.
Eric?
I'd just like to acknowledge the persistence and really, stand on top of something that you believe in, and that's just what the process is. No further comment.
Yeah, all I would say is I have the same issues that I had with it from the beginning. I don't know that it's necessary, and I don't know that some of the language is as accurate as it should be, but nevertheless, I think we said it should go to a committee. It did go to a committee. This is what the committee came up with, so as far as I'm concerned, based upon that, I'm not going to go back on how we approached that, so I will end up supporting it.
Mike?
I mean, I've probably expressed the strongest opposition to this in the past, and although I too also continue to have some issues with it from a personal standpoint, I think it would be unfair of us to pass this on with a negative recommendation, and it makes sense to me to allow the town meeting to consider it in full based on what's been provided.
Wally?
I would agree with both of us, but I still am against this one.
Okay. Thank you. And I will also support the article. I think you've done what we asked. Appreciative of your patience. And it's not perfect, but it's good enough for me. So, questions from the audience? Okay. Back to the board. Is there a motion?
Move the article as written.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Passes 6-2. Going back to Article 3. Section 1 of the Town Meeting Act. I believe this article was only modified for clarity and consistency, no substantive changes to the article. Are there any questions from committee members? Comments from committee members? Ted?
I'm aware that the 4,000 inhabitants figure for the precincts is a state stipulated number. So if that's the case, do we even need it in here? On the presumption that we're always going to follow adhere to state law.
Kate?
Through you, Mr. Chair. It is required by state law, but it's superfluous to some extent to put it in here, but it isn't incorrect to put it in here. It clarifies that you plan to follow that.
Okay.
What's the process if that gets changed 5 years from now? Do we have to go through a whole charter review to amend that?
Kate?
What I would recommend is if you're concerned about a change, one of the issues that was talked about by the committee and the select board is picking an amount of time to revise this, and it's something like 20 years, I believe. So you could add to this where it says, but no more than 4,000 inhabitants per precinct. You could add, or otherwise required by state law as amended, something to that effect. And that way, if state law is amended, you don't have to change this.
That's my only question. So,
And also, it
Is that
depends
correct?
on, if I may further, it depends on how state law is changed. You could still have the 4,000. You could still require that to be your number, and even if state law changes, if state law changes to become more stringent, you'd have to change this, but the as amended language would cover it. If state law changes to make this less stringent, then you don't have to change it.
You good?
I guess I'm still curious what the process, if we wanted to change it or had to change it, do we have to do a whole charter review to change it? Or can we update it as a singular article, like we do some other laws, to comply with the state law changes?
I believe, well, it'll be an act of the legislature, so we'd have to petition the legislature to make any change. So it would be through a town meeting process, much like we've done now. We may not be as involved if it's just one small thing, but we'd still have to go through a process and have it changed on the state level.
Okay, I guess I'm just curious about the merit of having it in there to begin with this, but I will yield the floor.
Paul?
I see 4,000 inhabitants, not being new to the town or a lifelong resident. Has it always been 8 precincts? Or has it been smaller and grew? Or is there any potential for growth? Is there that kind of potential? Or let's say we somehow went over 4,000 by 50 on each precinct. Then would we be in a position to have to go to a 9th precinct? Is that what they're saying?
I'm going to ask the town clerk, who happens to be in the audience, to go to the podium.
This is a good time for a map.
Almost as if this has been teed up.
This is like school.
Yeah. Civics.
I was expecting this in Article 2.
Hold on to it.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh. We're a long way from 4,000. Just grass. 20.
I do have a few extras, but I'm sorry, I didn't, it's online.
As is everything.
Pretty darn.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kathy Ellsworth, the town clerk. Every 20 years, the federal census happens, and we have to what?
10 years?
Oh, every 10 years, sorry. The federal census happens, and we have to re-precinct our precincts. So right now, we have 8 precincts. No precinct can have more than 4,000 people in it. So our census number in 2020 came in at 28,087, which is below 32,000. If we were to go to 32,000 residents, we would have to add another precinct. And then redo the lines so that our precinct lines would change.
All set.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No questions.
I'll be over here if you need me.
Well, it brings it, the one question, what our population growth looks like. So if anyone knows.
I think
That would be
that's-
more planning and economic development question.
Right.
I don't have statistics on that. I don't know if anybody else.
Jill, do you have a rough
trending thingy?
It's certainly not that, you know.
I didn't think so.
Yeah,
but-
not that quick.
Yes, it's not trending up that quickly, but it has increased over time, and Kathy did some of this research to look when we were talking about the town meeting numbers. So it has consistently been increasing, but not at a rate astronomically high. It's essentially been around the same.
And
Last 20 years.
based on what we know, we're not projecting to have to address what previous comment, greater than 4,000, right?
Again, that's if we only have to address that if the state legislature makes a change in the 4,000.
Got it. There you go. Thank you.
Arthur?
I'm all set.
Mike?
I think, and Kathy doesn't have to get up with this, but I think part of the issue that always comes up is the fact that there seems to be discrepancies in the numbers of voters by precinct. But when we deal with the creation of the precincts, they're dealt with by population, not by registered voters. And so it's plausible that you have in some precincts more voting activity or more kids or something like that. Does that make sense?
Be easier for me to just answer the question. Yes, when we go over the redistricting or re-precincting, it's purely by population. It does not take into consideration large apartment complexes. For example, in Precinct 8, we have the Kirkbride Building. We have the, I call it Swing Away. I'm not quite sure what it is. What is it? SoFi? The SoFi complex. So those two complexes by themselves have a lot of residents who are not maybe planning to stay here or well invested in the town. So you don't have their, a lot of the activity that you would have in some other areas of town where they're more established. So that's why, like Precinct 8, generally you have a lower voter count, you have lower interest in town meeting, for example. But it's purely population.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Questions from the audience on Article 3? Coming back to the committee, any further deliberation or discussion? Motion?
Move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article passes unanimously. We're going to move on to Article 4, which amends Section 2 of the Town Meeting Act. There were no substantive changes here, but if we could have the town clerk return to the podium.
Just get a chair and sit up there.
Closer.
She's getting her steps in this evening. She could have.
I should have sat a little closer. What I
So,
can,
if you would.
Yes.
Can you, and I asked the town clerk to come tonight because in reading this article, I know I was sometimes confused in that it talks about 96 town meeting members, and I was never good at math, but I know we have 144 plus 5 now with the select board, which is 149. So if you wouldn't mind kind of explaining to me and to our committee and to our friends in the audience how we get from this 96 number to the 149 that we have now, and why that fits within the article as written, because there were no substantive changes. It would be very helpful just to see how we got here. Thank you.
certainly. The number 96, as indicated in Article 4, Section 2, comes into play because the acts of 1973, at that time, the membership of town meeting was 96. So I believe they were referencing the number of current town meeting members when this section was written. Since that time, in 1994, town meeting was increased at the recommendation of the town clerk, increased to 15 town meeting members per precinct, making the count 120 plus the 5. And then in January of 2012, at the recommendation of the clerk, the select board indicating the number of town meeting members would increase to 18 per precinct, making the count the 144 plus 5 that we have today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Should I stand here?
Yeah, just in case. Questions on Article 4? We'll start down here with Wally.
I don't have any, and I'd heard this explanation earlier. I would question maybe if we should change the 96 to the 144 at this point, or just leave it like it is.
Okay.
I'd be the same. I think it would probably make sense to ask the town council if, in her opinion, that's necessary, if what we want is to keep it at the 144. Because obviously, I think we recognize that the committee had asked to reduce that by some number. Is this the most effective way to do that, or should we simply change this to the 144 now?
So Kate, I'll ask if you wouldn't mind answering that question, but also maybe following up. I know that there was discussion among, or a recommendation from the review committee to decrease the number, and there was an opinion by you that said, well, you can decrease the number, but not the way you want to do it. So can maybe you talk about both, should we change, would it be in our best interest maybe to move this to 144, or just leave it alone, because we're still at 144, or 144 plus 5, and why we couldn't lower the number as recommended by, in the process recommended by the review committee.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair, to the group. Basically, this is governed by statute, Chapter 43A, Section 4. Precinct voters, each precinct has to get representative based on population size. So the more people in a precinct, the more representatives they get, which is essentially, it's just the number of membership is calculated in approximate proportion to the number of inhabitants in each precinct for the total number of inhabitants of the town. It basically has to be divisible by 15. So it doesn't matter what the number is. You can raise it, you can lower it, but it's got to be divisible by 15 so that you're having a greater number in precincts that have more people. That's the simple answer.
I'm not sure I understand.
Can you swing that one more time? I think there's some confusion.
I think, Kate, I believe in our case, we have 8 precincts. So if we were to reduce our town meeting body, we would have to do that by 3 times 8, because we have 8 precincts and we have a 3-year term rotation. So any reduction or addition that we do, it's in 24 increments up or down.
And that is, I believe, consistent with the statute, which I have a copy. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, the statute says, in a representative town meeting, membership shall in each precinct consist of the largest number divisible by 3. I'm not a math expert either, but based on what Kathy just described, as long as the total number in each can be divisible by 3. And again, I don't have an opinion whether you should raise it or lower it, that's entirely up to you. But to be consistent with the statute, you want to make sure that you have, that it's divisible by 3, and that the large, that you have more representatives in the larger precincts, if that makes sense.
So may I?
Go ahead.
We don't have that. We have the same representation in each precinct,
Then
so.
you
we
can,
just-
yeah, then it's not an issue. And I did just look at the numbers on here. They are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
All
So-
around 3,500.
Arthur?
No, I still don't know if we got an answer to whether or not the statute, the act should say 144 instead of 96.
I think it
Which
doesn't matter.
I think from our standpoint, why, if this was done at 96, it was 96 when this was done, and we're redoing it now, and it's 144, I think it should be 144.
And in fact, I guess the question is, I don't know the answer to this, but again, when I was elected in '84, there was the 96. Obviously, that goes back to '72. At some point, did we have, I guess that's the question, have we always had 96 in the representative town meeting? Or at some point, did we have 50-something or whatever? Because I think you're right, we at some point had 6, I seem to remember there was 6 precincts and not
I think I've seen
8.
something of that.
Yeah,
but
and
I
so,
can't speak with any authority to it.
yeah. So when this was amended in 70 whatever, did we change it from the number at that point, which was whatever, to the 96? And if that's the case, then it would seem to fall into place that we should
change it
change
again.
this
Yeah.
to 144.
Both of those numbers are divisible by 3, so either one is acceptable legally. It's your choice.
Yeah, it says, it says which will cause the total town meeting membership to be as nearly 96 as may be. All right, it doesn't apply to what we have now. So it either that or don't have a number in there. We have 144, so it should say 144 if we're redoing it.
Eric?
Interesting. To your point, I think, Arthur, or stop after divisible by 3, period.
Or that,
right?
yeah.
Right. No number or
Right.
an accurate number. It's a fair point.
Mary?
I agree. I think the 96 is very confusing when you're reading it. You're not understanding where, where that number is coming from. So either change it to what the current is or not have it.
Paul?
How long has it been at 144 right now?
Since 2012.
I think we should move it.
We think we should change it?
No,
Leave it
change
alone?
it to
144, okay.
Sorry.
Ted?
I concur.
With whom?
We should change it to 144.
I guess the funny thing is that the one
Because
number
nobody's
that
explained to
nobody
me-
seems to want is 96.
Yeah.
Right? That's the one thing we do know, right? The board wanted a number slightly higher than that. Everybody else seems to be happy with 144. I'm not sure why we want to put a number in there that nobody wants. Is the-
This might be a good time to ask Sally to get up and maybe, just to ask her as we move into the citizens' comments.
Do you
just
want
to
my
a-
map? Okay.
Can I ask one question real quick?
Yeah.
What's the,
You're welcome.
so this says 96, what's vote or act or decision by the select board makes it 144? What's the
Town meeting, that was a vote of town meeting at the recommendation of the clerk?
No, it was, town meeting didn't have anything to do with that number.
Okay.
Town clerk suggests it.
It's recommended, it's in there.
To the select board, okay,
It's at the recommendation of the town clerk.
okay.
Every year in January, reviews to decide whether there should be movement or not.
Okay,
So that number can be amended in the future
yes.
in the same manner? Okay.
So we stay with the present number of 96 through this reading of this warrant at this point?
It depends on what we,
We can change it to
Yes.
144 and not hold up the warrant?
yes, correct. It'll be our recommendation.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Sally?
Thank you. So, on the review committee, as we first started reading these acts and trying to understand them, this section was very confusing to us because where's this number 26 coming from and so on and so forth. And other sections of the act similarly had language that we thought, oh, that applied, back at the very beginning of the Representative Town Meeting Act. There are sections, for instance, that talk about the first time a finance committee is formed, or the first time a select board is voted, or other similar things where there was kind of cumbersome, hard to understand language. But we've done this now for a long time. We've been a representative town meeting for a long time. So in those other sections, our recommendation by the review committee was often, well, let's just cut out that archaic language that doesn't apply anymore, because now we all know we don't need to have to talk like the select board shall immediately hire a town manager, because they had done that after the Town Manager Act was first introduced. So some of our work we felt was streamlining, carving out language that just doesn't apply anymore. And frankly, that's how I first read this language. The review committee's recommendation, which we thought was going to be in our report to the town meeting for town meeting to debate, was to reduce the size of town meeting from 18 members per precinct to 15. So I thought some of this language that talked about the largest number divisible by 3, which will admit of representation there, that seemed to me like language we don't need anymore. That's baked into the way we operate now. So our suggestion, and in fact, I think it was my language, was to say town meeting shall be 15 members per precinct. I kind of carved all of that away. And then realized later, mostly with the assistance of the commentary that town council made, that instead, the answer is to change that number 96, which doesn't apply anymore. So the review committee recommends, and it wasn't a unanimous vote on my committee, I've got to say, but the review committee suggests that this language should be changed from 96, which is 12 town meeting members per precinct, to 120, which is 15. And I know not everybody's going to agree with that, but again, we hoped that town meeting members would be debating that at town meeting. It feels like that opportunity has kind of been sliced away because, you know, even CR, when you began your discussion of this article, you say, well, these are just, what was the word, housekeeping kind of clarification kind of things. Well, no, we had a substantive suggestion for this, and it's been carved out, and it feels like it's never going to get to where we hoped it would be. So the review committee's suggestion is change that 96 to 120. If you, Finance Committee, don't agree with that, and we spent hours on that issue. We spent multiple meetings on that issue. We consulted with lots of other people on that issue, and we came to the recommendation of 120. But if you don't agree with it, because the Select Board didn't agree with it, we would suggest, or I personally would suggest, okay, let's make it 144, because that number 96, 20 years from now, when the next review committee gets to look at this, they'll think, where the hell does 96 come from? Because by then, it will have been 40 years since the town meeting was that size. So it just doesn't make sense to keep it at 96. It's confusing. It makes it hard to understand what was the intent with this language. So that's what I wanted to get up and say, and I don't know if I did it in the right order, CR. I should have waited for the public comments.
No, perfect. Is there any other public comment? Nova?
Nova Salmon Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1, and part of the committee, the review committee. I agree with everything Sally said, except for I personally would recommend just eliminating it, that whole line out. That way, if the clerk suggests that it does go down, we don't have to stay at 144. There is no number that we have to be at that's written down. We can make that decision year to year on however things are going. So my recommendation is just to eliminate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Simon?
Jim Simon, Precinct 7, Town Meeting Member. The next sentence on this paragraph, the number of elected town meeting members to which each precinct is entitled for the ensuing year shall be determined by the town clerk. Doesn't that make it the town clerk's decision as to how many we have, as long as it's divisible by 3?
I think the town clerk would agree with you.
So we don't need the 96.
Right.
At all, any number there.
Can I just
Yeah.
disagree with that, Reed? But that would imply me the town clerk has the ability to effectively disband town meeting by saying there's 4 members. Next year, there's 4 members.
No, because that's not divisible by 3.
3 members. 3 members.
There'll be 3 in each precinct minimum.
Right, but I don't know that that's what's supposed,
Well,
what we're supposed to be giving the select.
but the town clerk recommends to the Board of Selectmen, correct? You can't do it on your own.
In reading this, it's my recommendation. I obviously would not make the recommendation to have town meeting have 3 people in it. But I would certainly consult with the moderator, the town manager, the select board, and I wouldn't make that determination myself, although this does say that I do.
Well, if you did, there are ways to deal with that.
I'm not elected, I'm an appointed
That's right.
clerk.
I personally, I think there's good points for having it either stop at where it says divisible by 3, which will admit of representation thereof in the approximate proportions which the number of inhabitants therein bears to the total number of inhabitants in the town, period, and take out the rest of that sentence. Or you could put the 144, but that would, 20 years from now, that will be probably not accurate. But either one of those is better than 96. But I think it's better to put a period at the end of the word town and cut out the last 15 or so letters, which talk about the 96.
Any other comments from the audience? Mr. Zubrick.
I have to. Yes, I do have to. In defense of the number that was published, if you followed the discussions and the arguments for or against any number, that number is dictated by state law, isn't it? Because the only thing that's required is that it's divisible by 3. But first you have to ask yourself the question, what are we doing here? We're debating a policy that was decided by the Board of Selectmen, and the reasoning for the number reduction was not for just a number out of the air. It was for a reason, Sally, if you can back me up, is because the committee that was discussing this and debating this was concerned about the interest of the town meeting members and what the town meetings were walking down the aisle in the auditorium and opening up their letters of warrant articles. And the thing is, you're right. The reason is to get rid of that number altogether because it's going to be whatever it's going to be. But the reason it being discussed today is because the committee was concerned about the involvement and engagement of the town meeting members, and they felt that by reducing the number, they'll get more interest and more attention to the warrant articles that are being discussed at town meeting. Now, your committee, as Finance Committee, has a lot of power to recommend one way or the other. However, this one was a request to get the town meeting members more engaged into the process, the government process that we are all engaged in. So I don't know if you want to follow this up, Sally, but I think this is the reason why we're even talking about it, because even the selectmen didn't do it justice when they were looking at it. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Sally?
Thank you, Mark. And Mr. Zubrick is correct that that was the flavor of much of our discussion in the review committee, is the concern about the involvement, engagement, interest of town meeting members, and we felt the body had gotten so big that it just wasn't as thank you, as effective as it had been in the past. And as I mentioned in my presentation to the select board and to this committee too, when we first came before you, that some precincts always have contested races. Others have to hold a caucus before each town meeting, annual and special, because not enough people have run for office, so there is not the full complement per precinct currently. In the May 6, 2025 town election, only 2 precincts had competitive races for town meeting members. By that I mean that only 2 precincts had more candidates running for town meeting than there were vacancies. That statistic alone, to me, suggests, maybe that 18 is too high. There's not enough interest. Maybe what we need to do is downsize and work harder at getting more civic engagement, more community interest going. And we had several suggestions in our report as to how to do that, steps we thought could be helpful with that, including making more information available more easily to people in town, having a precinct forum every year in February where members of every precinct can meet, different classroom for each precinct, so that precinct members can get to know each other and that the members of the public, the people in their precinct, can come in with their concerns. We tried very hard in various recommendations we made, by we I mean the review committee, to remind town meeting members that you are voted as a town meeting member to represent your constituents, which are the people that live in your precinct. So as town meeting members, we should know a little bit about what our neighbors are concerned about, what the people in our precinct need and want. And that has not been an element or part of town meeting membership in all the years that I've been involved. You just were a town meeting member from a precinct number, but not that sense that you represent your precinct. So we are a representative town meeting, and that was one of the things we really wanted to emphasize. So for all those reasons, but most specifically, the last few elections, not enough people stepping up to run. That's not the fault of the public. It's not the fault of the people. I think it's because the size of the body is just not, doesn't quite fit right now. Perhaps in short term it would. We could bump back up to 18. But for right now, it seems to me we need to kind of slim down and make town meeting more effective and work better than it does currently in its larger size. So that was really the basis of our recommendation. So.
Thank you, Sally. Coley?
Coley Ray Bickey, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. I guess I'd just like to take slight exception to the comment about, town meeting members not doing anything, because I think some of the work that our town meeting members do in our precinct is not visible to the larger town meeting body or people in this room. And I just take exception to that. I can tell you, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but we had a storm drain back up. They called me, "Hey, Coley, can you get the water department out here?" Sure, pick up the phone. I had neighbors complaining to me about a house on Burley Farm that was going to be a flip that didn't have any building permits in the window. So I gave Tim Hudon a call, followed up with an email. I said, "Hey, Tim, can you look into this?" And a stop work order was issued for it. So I think things do happen in the precincts that just aren't visible to the greater community. Thanks.
Bill? And if you could keep your comments limited specifically to the article we're discussing?
Bill Bates, Town Meeting Member,
We go
Precinct.
totally off.
Precinct 4. The number of town meeting members, we all know, is basically forced by the population and by the 10-year census. I think I agree, get rid of the 96, but I got a problem with, first of all, this is the first time as a 30-year town meeting member that a copy of the warrant was not delivered to my home prior to a FinCom meeting. You want more people involved? That's not the way to do it. And we did get the email.
Bill?
Yep.
The process is outside of the scope of the FinCom. I'm going to ask you, the warrant is set by the selectmen, and the way it's distributed is handled by the selectmen. That's an issue you'd want to take up with them. I certainly appreciate that, but we've got 54 articles to get through tonight, and I just want to keep us on task.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
I guess what I would say is the committee had recommended 120. The selectmen didn't agree with that. Perhaps what we need to do at town meeting is have an amendment that says we want to downsize town meeting. If that's what you want us to do it, you want us to do it at town meeting and not at FinCom, we can try that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience on the article? Lauren?
Lauren Steves, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. This goes hand in hand with the discussion about reducing town meeting, and it was a short discussion that the Town Meeting Review Committee had initially when they were charged with examining whether representative town meeting remains the most appropriate form of governance for the town of Danvers. While the question ultimately allegedly fell outside the committee's formal scope, I believe it's one that shouldn't be ignored. Danvers is currently one of 32 municipalities in Massachusetts out of more than 350 that operate under representative town meeting form of government. That alone doesn't make the model wrong, but it places us firmly in the minority. And it warrants reflective on whether this structure continues to serve our community effectively. Danvers is a town of approximately 28,000 residents, and I'm concerned that representative model as it is functioning today may not be the best way to ensure broad participation, informed deliberation, and accountability in a community of this size. My concern is not theoretical, it's based on what we see in practice with inconsistent participation, uneven preparedness, and a growing disconnect between governance decisions and the broader public. I'm not here to advocate for a specific alternative form of government, nor am I suggesting that a change should be made lightly or without extensive public input. What I'm saying is the current system does not appear to be working as well as it should, and that reality deserves acknowledgement. Raising this issue is about recognizing that government models should evolve as communities grow and change. And if we're serious about transparency, accountability, and public trust, then we should be willing to ask whether this form of governance aligns with all of our goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, did you have something on the article?
Just Mike Trainer, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. Just as we go through this, I think it was a recommendation of the committee, obviously, to have 120 members. That's probably something that we are going to vote. I can almost guarantee there'll be an amendment on that. So maybe just factor that in when we do this, whether we put the 120 number in there or 144. I just think the committee debated it. That's why you have a committee, and it's just now we're not voting on it, and that's just my personal feeling on this particular article. Thank you.
Thank you. Ted, did you have something?
It seems pretty clear to me at this point that this document hasn't governed the size of town meeting for 20 years.
Well, the number.
That the select board makes that decision every January at the recommendation of the clerk. So I am completely sympathetic to many of the arguments and the concerns that are being articulated about the size of town meeting. But as it pertains to this article, I think we should strike the last section of that, ended at inhabitants in town.
Town period.
And send it that way. Yeah. I'm not rendering and just saying 144 is better than 120. I share your concerns about lack of competitive elections specifically. I think the idea that trimming town meeting, you're going to get the people that so-called open their packs walking down the hallway. Those are the 20 that are going to get voted out. I think that's a pipe dream. I think some of the people, probably the more active participants in town meeting are people that didn't necessarily live here forever. They might be younger, less well-known, and run and make it on that 8th slot in the ballot. They don't have a family name that's been here for 40, 50 years where they're basically guaranteed election. But all that being said, I completely understand the concern. But I don't think, it doesn't look like this article's governed that issue for 20 years. So we should take the language out. And if we want to discuss it at town meeting with amendments, I'm totally sympathetic to that. But it also sounds like we should have been discussing this at select board meeting every year, that it was a concern since whenever people became concerned about it. So that'd be my motion.
Yeah, very quickly, having heard what we just heard, I will say that as a double political science major, there is a concern in the Commonwealth in conversations that we've been around participation, regardless of form of government. So I think that that's a position that is very concerning. Whether or not this addresses that, I think it's healthy and helpful that folks are concerned about it. our form of government is not necessarily alone, and so I would just caution against having feedback against our form of government because of participation. It's all forms of governance in the Commonwealth that are struggling with that right now, but I support, period.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
Make a motion that we accept Article 4 as Section 2 of the Town Meeting Act as written with the removal of the section that says, and which will cause the total town meeting membership to be nearly as 96 as may be.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Can you tell me again what the vote was?
It was unanimous.
But I mean, what the motion was, I guess.
It was eliminating the language "and which will cause the total town meeting membership to be as nearly 96 as may be." That line has been dropped. So, I'm sorry, what?
What's that mean? 144, 120?
We've eliminated the number.
Okay, that's it.
Yes. Because it's superfluous as it is.
Just wanted to understand.
Article 5, Section 3, moving right along. Does the committee have any questions on Article 5? Anyone? Nope. Any questions or comments from the audience on Article 5? Is there a motion?
Move the article.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Article 6, which is Section 4 of the Town Meeting Act. Any discussion from members of the committee? Any comments from the audience on Article 6? There a motion?
I have a question.
Oh, Paul.
Is this where we discuss how many signatures when you're running for, is this the section that?
Yep.
And so, if you're running for town meeting and you're a first time, then you have to go out and get
You're
10
up again.
signatures?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I think, yes, you have to go get your 10 signatures.
Yeah. And then if you've been a previous town meeting member looking for reelection, you don't?
Correct.
Okay. Why? I mean, we talk about,
Go ahead, Paul.
we want participation, but yet we don't want or require the person running for reelection to go out and meet maybe some of his people. Constituents. Right. Get out and to get a few signatures. Walk the street. It's not going to hurt you. That's what the question I had with it, really. This is like running for office.
Go ahead, Sally.
Go ahead, Sally.
No, I didn't have a question.
The review committee did recommend changing that to require incumbents running for reelection to town meeting, that they would have to pull papers and get the 10 signatures. But there's a statute, a Massachusetts statute, that allows for this process. It's Mass General Laws, Chapter 43A, Section 6, which says that any town meeting member can become a candidate for election by giving written notice thereof to the town clerk. So it's by statute.
It's by statute.
Oh, there we go.
That's my understanding.
Go ahead.
Kevin Barrich, Poplar Street. So 43A would be lovely. I would love 43A because that is the standard form of representative town government in Massachusetts. Standard form. Very short, very simple, no special act. Right? The committee was told they couldn't consider this because they were told their scope was very narrow. But I mean, we can ask town council, of course, but I just can't possibly see how the 43A, which applies to the standard form of town meeting, could possibly apply to us, which is a special act town meeting. And not requiring signatures for the incumbents is how we get that person with a family name that's been here for however long, may not even show up, but guaranteed to get a spot. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee, from the audience? Representative Kearns, if you could go to the microphone.
Thank you, Sally Kearns, Precinct 8, longtime town meeting member, gave it up to be on the Finance Committee. This is so minor, I almost didn't rise to say it, but it's a typo. Which the candidate resides and shall be filed with the town clerk, not filled. I think one hopes filled with signatures, but it's just line 1, 2, 3, line 4. Not a big deal. But the editor in me can't resist.
So can someone clarify, are we governed by 43, by that statute or not?
It's outside of my expertise. Kate?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Chapter 43A, Section 6 says very similar to what this section of the Act says. This Act was already approved by the legislature, and it took full effect, and it happens to be consistent with the state statute. It speaks for itself because it's special legislation which is done outside of statutes, but it's entirely consistent with the statute. It's already in here, so we can amend it, but it's part of a special act, so it's got to go through the home rule petition process and be amended again by the legislature.
So I guess the question is, are we prohibited from requiring incumbents from getting the 10 signatures, or can our special act make that requirement over and above?
The special act can do stuff different from what the state statute says. That's what special legislation is for. It's to be able to do something that isn't necessarily contained in, my favorite example, because it's one that I got passed, was Chapter 44, Section 53, G, I believe it was, which allows certain boards, I think it was just a complete mistake when that statute was drafted, it allowed certain municipal boards to apply consultant fees to, like, land use boards that have difficult projects before them. And it listed 4 random boards, and it left out several others that should have been in there, like conservation. If zoning, planning, board of health are in there, why isn't conservation? So ultimately, we did, I advised a few municipalities, and they petitioned the legislature for special legislation, and they got it, and then the legislature realized that it was taking so much time and effort for them to do that for all these municipalities, they just revised the state statute, and now conservation commissions are included. So again, my long-winded way of saying, this mirrors the state statute, but it doesn't have to, because it's special legislation. It can have those different components if that's what you want to recommend that the town meeting do.
So I would say this, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would say that some people who have well-established family names do actually put the effort in and have done it for a long time. Sometimes they take offense when that type of language is used. But that being said, I have no problem with the idea that somebody, even somebody who's been a town meeting member for 30 years, needs to go out and get their 10 signatures. It is a absolute minimum number. It is, we probably all have family members in a precinct that will get us the 10 signatures. So I have no problem with that and would be willing to make that amendment to this as well.
Or make that the motion.
Make that the motion, yeah. Amend the motion as provided by that. I'm gonna figure out where to put it.
if you're wondering, Sally, I'm going through your report trying to find the language that you might have had in there. So,
We just deleted it.
thank you. Section 4.
We should just get rid of the part that says provided
Yeah,
that.
so it's the same, but we're going to remove, provided that any town meeting member may become a candidate for reelection by
Right,
giving
strike that.
yeah, written notice within 30 days. That's the one
To the end
section
of
that
that
we removed.
sentence.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is clear, that's great.
So you're putting a period after the word election?
Yep.
Yeah. And then picking back up again where it says no nomination papers shall be.
Okay.
No.
Attraction.
Make it small.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes. Madam Clerk.
If you are going to remove that wording, that's absolutely fine. However, it would not apply to this election because this is not going to be in effect
Right.
until after town meeting, which is after,
After the election.
well, this is before, this one is before.
Oh,
but
right,
the
you're right, you're
legislation
right,
won't
you're
be
right, yeah.
gone through the system, and
Yeah.
those declaration forms will have gone out in the mail already.
Okay.
I just don't want people to call and say, I got the form, I need a nomination form.
So they get one last year.
Live it up.
All right. I know we've had a lot of talk. I've kind of lost my place as to whether we're doing citizens' comments right now or.
We have an amendment to.
I think we have an amendment.
I think, well, we've got a motion. We're not amending anything.
Yeah,
We're
we
making
made a
motions.
we have a motion.
But I
We need a
want to make
second.
sure we take care of all of our business. All right, so you've made that motion?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Passes unanimously. Article 7. Any questions or comments from the board on Article 7? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion on Article 7?
Move the article.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 8. Any discussion? Any question? Mark?
I would just like to make a suggestion, please, because you have a television audience, you have a membership audience here. We don't even know what you're talking about because nobody addresses at least a summary version of what we're voting on or what you're voting on. So please, just identify at least what these articles really mean that we're discussing. We have an audience out there.
Thank you, Mark. That's a good suggestion. I appreciate that. So Article 8 is to see if the town meeting will vote to petition the legislature to enact special legislation amending Section 6 of the Town Meeting Act as shown below, provided that the legislature is further authorized to make editor edits as they see fit. The recommended changes suggest that the election of a moderator pro temp must be from among the town meeting members. Additionally, updates language in Section 6 of the Town Meeting Act for clarity and consistency. These changes do not alter the substance of the law, but improve readability and alignment with current practices. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, can I discuss something?
Yes.
I think Mark's suggestion is terrible. And if we sit here for 54 articles reading that same language for things that are capitalizations, we're going to be here till midnight. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Like,
Anything
it's
from the
insane.
audience?
No, I was going to say, so, although I'm not interested in trying to block this, I do have a concern with the idea that the moderator pro tem needs to be a town meeting member. My concern with that is that once you, as a town meeting member, who have been elected to represent your precinct, are expected to no longer do that and to take action in which you give up that vote, you give up that performance, actually flies in the face of what your responsibilities are as a town meeting member. And that it is actually a better thing to have somebody who is not a town meeting member be that moderator pro tem and not have one of those town meeting members give up their vote as a result of that. Again, not a big deal. It's happened twice in the 40 years I've been around. Both of those times, to the best of my knowledge, it was not a town meeting member who acted as the moderator pro tem.
And this is kind of my deal. It was a select board member.
It was one case, it was a select board member, and in the other case, I believe it was a former moderator who did it. So, again, not a big deal to me because it's very uncommon, but I don't agree with this in general.
So along the same lines, if I've got a select board who's putting together the warrants to push through, do I really want a select board member as my moderator going through town meeting? Just a question. Nothing that is going to happen a lot, but the potential's still there.
No, I would agree with you, myself, that I wouldn't want a town, and also a town meeting member. In both scenarios, it's not ideal to have either a select board member who is a town meeting member or a town meeting member who would have to, in theory, resign in order to become the clerk has another job. But please remember to go to the microphone if you have something to say. But, this is an article that I won't support because I think it should be someone from outside who, my recommendation to the committee would be of no action on Article 8 because the town meeting can certainly elect someone from outside the town meeting body to be the moderator pro tem, like the vice chair of the FinCom.
Well, I would say this: we can't vote no action because to vote no action would leave us in a
Oh, you're right.
difficult position and have no moderator at all.
You're correct.
But I think the provision that deals that
Thank you. That's why we have lawyers on the FinCom.
Interesting thought, but I would just simply say that we remove the section that says from among the town meeting members.
Yes. Any other comments from the committee? Questions from the audience?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David McKenna, Precinct 8 Town Meeting Member and former selectman and one-time moderator pro tempore. When Peter's...
Thank you and good night.
That's his walk-off music.
That's Dave's theme music. I don't even knew that.
Moderator at the time had a conflict of interest in the vote coming up. And yes, the person who takes the position gives up their vote. However, do you want someone who may not be a member of town meeting or have any idea what the job entails trying to run that zoo that it can become if it's not controlled? Just a thought. Thank you.
I guess just in response to that, I would hope the town meeting, in its wisdom, would put somebody in place who they would believe would
Have some awareness.
have some
Yeah.
awareness of how that's supposed to work.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal, but I just think that it does fly in the face of what your responsibilities are as a town meeting member. So,
Anything else from the audience? Is there a motion?
I move Section 6 with the absence of the language from among the town meeting members.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 9. And Ted, I'm going to split the difference and just read the brief summary, not the beginning portion.
Deal.
Article 9 is a recommendation that at-large members do not count towards a quorum of a precinct when voting to fill a vacancy in a town meeting member position. Additionally, updates language in Section 7 of the Town Meeting Act for clarity and consistency. These changes do not alter the substance of the law, but improve readability and alignment with current practices. Anything from the committee?
I think this is just intended to be able to make sure that the select board, who often get counted with precinct 1, don't be included with precinct 1 in their quorum.
Yeah. Anything else? Questions from the audience? Oh, go ahead.
Bag.
I'm Julie Curtis, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. And I'm a little confused, and if people can say, where have you been? I've never heard of an at-large member.
The at-large members are the Board of Selectmen,
Oh,
or excuse me, the Select Board.
thank you. Thank you.
Both of them.
Yeah. Is there a motion on Article 9?
Move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Article 10 extends the waiting period for town meeting votes to become effective from 5 to 7 days and reduces petition signatures requirements from 4 to 3%, aligning with state law for consistency, and is recommended by Town Council to be Mass General Law, Chapter 43A, Section 10. Additionally, updates language for clarity and consistency. There's no alter of the substance of the law, but it improves readability and alignment with current practices. Questions from the committee? Anything from the audience on Article 10? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 11. This is us. The recommended changes include updating the description and duties of the Finance Committee to be consistent with the Town Manager Act. Additionally, updates the language for clarity and consistency. So this takes the language from the Town Manager Act and it mirrors it into the Town Meeting Act so that the language is the same in both articles. Any questions from the committee? Questions from the audience? Lauren?
I just have a comment where it says, within 30 days after each annual representative town meeting, 3 members of said committee shall be appointed to the moderator to serve three-year terms. If for any reason a vacancy occurs in the finance committee, such vacancy shall be filled by the moderator for the unexpired term. I would suggest that such vacancy shall be filled by the moderator for the unexpired term within 60 days of the vacancy occurring. I see 8 members on this committee where I believe there should be 9, and I think for the last 2 years we've been running at 8 members on a 9-member committee. I think we need to add a clear time limit for filling vacancies on the finance committee. Plays a central role in reviewing and recommending our annual budget. Leaving vacancies unfilled for extended periods of time, it leaves you guys without a tiebreaker if you're 4-4. If that ever happens, I don't know how common that is, but that's important. It could leave decisions unresolved or.
Just so you know on that, that's not true. We have to vote for something with 5 votes regardless of the number.
Okay, so
of votes. Yeah.
but it would be nice to have 9 to have a.
Where it's become a problem is if there have been, I don't mean to interrupt, Lauren, forgive me, but where it's become actually a problem is if we've had members absent because of illness or whatever, and, we have a quorum of 5. If all 5 of us don't agree, then we can't go anywhere.
Mhm.
So,
So I'm specifically talking about just filling the 9-member committee, and I don't think we should be leaving vacancies for 2 years. So I would suggest putting language in around vacancies and time that it should be filled. Thank you.
thank you. Ted?
So there hasn't been a single unique vacancy for 2 years. It's two different people. One person I believe our most recent member is Mary Beth, and somebody else resigned after that, right? We may not have been at full capacity, but it's been a different finance committee over 2 years. It hasn't gone unfilled. There's been a replacement, and then somebody else resigned. And I do think, based on my experience and what I've seen, I think Pat is very deliberate about who she picks. It's a 3-year term, and I think I don't really think that our ability to function has been impacted by her being deliberative in who she selects. And given that it's a 3-year term, I think she's done a good job with it, and she can't control when people resign, and I would be inclined to leave it as is.
Any other questions or comments from the audience? Mr. Bates?
With all due respect to Member Blake, you haven't had 9 in a number of years, and you most times have had 7. I support Lauren's suggestion, and if you don't do it, we'll do it at town meeting.
Just to put this in, that's fine. That's always the process. I mean, we make a recommendation, and that recommendation acts as the motion on the floor. But this concept that somehow this is a unique thing that town meeting members have an ability to be able to make, we don't make a single decision. We make a recommendation. So, Bill, go right ahead. You've had the power to do it for 30 years and continue to do it. But I guess stop threatening us with a good time, if that is the, you know.
And just as an aside, if I could.
Yeah.
You know, if you put a time period on that and there's not a great pool of candidates to
Or
sit
no
on the
pool.
board, then you're going to force her to assign somebody to a board that may or may not want to go or may not be qualified to go. So by putting an actual time restriction on it may be detrimental to what you actually are looking forward to.
Mark?
The selection process of a finance committee member or any other committee, whether it's by the town manager or by the moderator, is their responsibility to determine who is the right person. We have 26,000 residents in this town. We have a selection of a pool of 26,000 people. Why can't we pick one? The reason is because they do not necessarily represent the town managers, the Board of Selectmen, or the moderator's point of view. So what we need to do, we need to disperse some of this responsibility of your functions and planning board functions and any other functions that are being done by the town manager. But that's one thing. You have 26,000 people that you can choose from. But my question is more related to paragraph 2 of section 9. And that has been a bone of contention forever since I was on the chairman of the finance committee, and I was on the finance committee. I was on the Board of Selectmen. What are your responsibilities, and what are you responsible for? Because what I feel, and I'll just tell you, I tell you how it is anyway. Your responsibility is to, like it says here, all questions pertaining to appropriation or expenditure of money, the creation of debt, the disposition of town property, and all other questions affecting the town hall. shall be referred to the Finance Committee for purpose of making recommendations to town meeting. But nothing in this section shall be construed prohibiting the appointment of a special committees and all that. This is what I am very interested in, of what you, as the recommending to the town meeting, are going to say, what are your responsibilities? This is clearly defined here. And the thing is that your role is, even tonight, we're talking about recommendations that were sent in the warrant articles by the Board of Selectmen, who are elected to represent all of us in town. You have taken on the role of the Board of Selectmen right now. And is that the right location of this responsibility? Your responsibility is more related to the financial situation of this town and not the policies and procedures that the Board of Selectmen have implemented. So somebody's not doing their job, but somebody is doing more than what they're supposed to, and we have a conflict of policies that are being presented to us. And the thing is, that's why the town meeting is frustrated, because we have different roles, different positions, different responsibilities, and I think, and I've been there before in your position, you are overstepping of what the selectmen wanted to do. We're looking at these articles, and you're making, policy changes. I know it's only a recommendation, but your recommendation carries a lot of weight. So that's all I have to say.
And I think, Mark, I appreciate your comments, but I think you answered the question. Our job is to make recommendations to the town meeting, and that is what we're here to do tonight, and that's exactly what we're doing. So, but thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Is there a motion on Article 11?
Motion to move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Article 12. Updates language in Section 9 of the Town Meeting Act for clarity and consistency. These changes do not alter the substance of the law but improve readability. Any questions from the committee? Questions from the audience? Is there a motion?
Move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Article 13, amend Section 11 of the Town Meeting Act. This is just an update of language of Section 11 in the Town Meeting Act for clarity and consistency. Any discussion from the board? Excuse me, the committee? Any discussion from the audience? Is there a motion on Article 13?
moved.
Motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Article passes unanimously. Article 14, amend Section 12 of the Town Meeting Act. It updates language of the Town Meeting Act for clarity and consistency. It does not alter the substance of the law, but improves readability and alignment with current practice. Any questions on Article 14? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
Move the article.
Second.
Just second.
A typo?
Are we changing the hours of poll?
No. We're changing it from reading 10 o'clock in the morning to 10 a.m.
Polls for the election of officers shall be open not later than.
So you could open them at 7, but
Yeah. They have to open as earlier than 10 a.m. Great. Is there a motion?
Wait a minute, Kathy's up.
Oh, Kathy?
Just for clarity, state law allows us on a local election to open the polls as late as 10 a.m. In our particular case, for consistency, We always hold our polling hours the same for all elections.
And we appreciate-
To avoid confusion.
We appreciate the dedication of you and all of the poll workers.
Thank you. We all appreciate it.
Is there a motion on Article 14?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Article 15 amends Section 13 of the Town Meeting Act. This is just a language update for clarity and consistency. Is there a discussion from committee members? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Passes unanimously. Article 16. This adds a new section requiring the Town Meeting Act to be reviewed at least every 20 years or sooner by majority vote, ensuring periodic evaluation and modernization. Maureen, did you have anything you wanted to say to this, where it's a new?
No, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Select Board recommends that the Town Meeting Act be reviewed every 20 years as decided by the town meeting and manner determined by the Select Board. Thank you.
Anything from the committee?
I have a question.
Mary?
So why now select board and not town meeting? Because town meeting voted for the review committee to review it. So why is there a change? What was the reasoning?
Sally, you recommended that, right? No, oh no, sorry. So we wanted to go every 20 years, and it says right here, we really just crossed out where it said, took the suggestions that, where it says, any such review of this act shall be conducted in a manner as determined by the select board, instead of town meeting members.
Correct. So when last, on the town meeting that voted to review, it was town meeting that recommended the committee, a committee be formed to review it. So town meeting originally was the body that was approving, authorizing that type of review. Reading this now, it seems that your board, select board, has changed it to be the select board instead of town meeting. So I guess I'm just asking why the change.
I cannot speak on behalf of the board, but, you know, that's what.
Can Sally, so I have a question if Mary Beth's done. Sally, can you tell us what your recommendation for this article was?
Go ahead, Sal.
Thank you. So this is a new article, and the review committee's suggestion was that that second sentence should be that any such review of the act should be conducted in a manner as determined by town meeting. The select board disagreed with that and crossed out town meeting and put in select board. As I was thinking about that change, my thought was that, you know, one of the select board members was saying, well, we're the ones that, you know, do the steps to allow the committee to be set up, and we do the warrant article review and all that kind of stuff. So my thought was that instead what we should do is change the language so that it reads, delete the second sentence of the new Section 14 of the Town Meeting Act and change it with this. Upon vote of town meeting to review this act, the town moderator shall promptly appoint a committee of town meeting members to conduct such review. And I'm suggesting that because that's what happened with the town meeting vote in 2024 that established the committee. So that I personally feel the town meeting can vote, okay, it's time to review, but they shouldn't have to go to the select board to get it going, to get it set up. The select board doesn't really play a role in it. It's town meeting that's voting to change the Town Meeting Act. The moderator, who is elected and who runs town meeting, is the person, in my view, who should choose the committee. So my suggestion is let's have the review be the way this review was, by a committee appointed by the moderator, not that it be a vote by town meeting, and then somebody from town meeting has to go to the select board to say, when are we doing it, when are we doing it, when are we doing it? That's my thought.
Anyone else from the committee? Paul?
So Sally, you're saying that the select board ultimately would have the opportunity? Is that what you're, to set the committee in motion?
The language that the select board has recommended in this warrant article is that the select boards play a significant role in the review process. And my suggestion is, no, let's remove that sentence and say, town meeting is the one that, the body that votes to do the review,
Which has been the case up until now.
right? And that the moderator be the person that then appoints the committee. I mean, somebody has to do that executive part of, okay, they voted to review, how are we going to do that? The moderator will appoint a committee
From,
from among town meeting members.
the question is, excuse me, but why do you just limit it to town meeting members? I mean, granted, they're supposed to be involved with the town, but there might be other folks out there
Yeah,
that have skills, but they don't involve wanting to be a town meeting member.
Well, I guess, I put it in there that it be from among town meeting members, because I was concerned if I didn't put some sort of qualifying language, it could open up, a bigger debate. But I mean, I agree, it should be the town moderator should appoint a committee of whoever he or she thinks would do a good job at it.
Could he or she do that, as it stands right now?
Well, these acts have only been reviewed a couple of times over the years, right? This time is the only one I can talk about. This time, town meeting voted to, in 2024, voted to review the acts. And the moderator appointed the committee that did it. I don't know what led to that being the process, but I thought the process worked well. So my big concern is I want to avoid a situation where town meeting votes to review something, but then they have to wait for the select board to take action.
I understand that, and frankly, I agree with you, too. And this is no disparagement on the members of town meeting that work so hard to present this. So that's not my point. I'm just trying to be more inclusive. If there's maybe someone out there that, has a lot of skills that just can't seem to want to be a town meeting member. That's it. That's all I'm asking. And, wherever, if the moderator has the ability and knows of someone like that, then the town moderator, he or she, can ask if that person would take part. Seems reasonable to me.
So in support of what Sally's saying, I think the other part of this too is that as the process, as we all know, the way the process works in Danvers under the statute that we have, and most likely will approve under this one, the select board will have an active role, an important role in any review of charter changes as they did in this case. Because as is the case, all the warrants are going to have to go through them. So I agree with you that the idea that there is a separate and somewhat independent committee that reviews this and makes recommendations, in essence, makes recommendations to the select board, and then the select board, as they did in this case, spend a considerable amount of time considering and weighing the options in regards to that, and then they will develop a warrant based on those recommendations and their belief on that, and then that will be given to the finance committee, and the finance committee will do it, and then at the end, it will end up, as it does always with town meeting, to make that decision. I think that having the moderator make the decision about who sits on that committee makes good sense.
Thank you.
Wally?
So as a tool to get it there, though, I think is what Sally was talking about initially. And then we go back to the may and shall for the 20 years. But
My suggestion, by the way, thank you, because I had forgotten that part, is that I think it should say shall. That's
Okay,
it's my opinion, and I understand that's,
once again, if we're going to try to work it into this, then the only way to get on the agenda at town meeting is through a warrant. So at least the chairman of the select board would have to start that to get to town meeting, to authorize town meeting to discuss and vote on that, to start the whole process. So somehow that's going to have to be incorporated into the beginning of this.
You could do a
I
citizen.
believe that's how it happened last time as well, but.
well, I can tell it's been more than 20 years.
Right, I mean, this past time, I believe that it started at the select board, went to town meeting authorized it, town moderator selected your group and here. Just to get it there.
Just for a little context, the Town Meeting Act, which is the one we're talking about right now, was last revised in 1973, so it was reviewed at some point before that. And the Town Manager Act, I think, is even longer ago.
That was in the 90s we did it.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a citizens petition for us to review this like a year or two before we voted to authorize it?
I can't remember.
So
Yeah.
I think you could initiate, ask for a review without having needing the select board to kick it off.
So somebody's got to start that, though. And I
Right,
don't know- I
but
don't know where you.
but as I've complained, it's quite easy to do a citizens petition in this town.
But now we still
It
have to
wouldn't be
have
very
somebody-
hard.
Yeah, but I think in
And
part
what
of
do you
this,
do
it's
here?
it's perfectly reasonable to change it to shall, to have the moderator be the person who makes the appointment.
Plus, you'll see in the town,
Yeah, well, we're not gonna have to deal with it, because you or I will both be dead in 20 years, so.
Sally, would you mind,
discuss it.
just so, your recommended language for the change, could you just read that off
Yes.
again?
yes. So this would be for Article 16 of the warrant, which addresses Section 14 of the Town Meeting Act. I suggest that the second sentence in the warrant article be deleted and replaced with the following sentence.
Excuse me, sorry. You also suggest that the first sentence be changed to say, "This act shall be reviewed."
Yes, yes, thank you. That the second sentence read, upon the vote by town meeting to review this act, the town moderator shall promptly appoint a committee of town meeting members to conduct such review. I'm making that same recommendation, by the way, for the Town Manager Act, which is a later article here in the warrant.
So it's still going to read basically strictly town meeting members.
Well, that's what my suggestion is.
That's her suggestion.
Your suggestion, okay.
And by the way, the similar language for the Town Manager Act appears in Article 51
Right.
of this warrant article, and it addresses Section 36, I believe, of the Town Manager Act. The numbering in the Town Manager Act gets a little difficult towards the end.
Yeah.
But I'm making the same suggestion for that act, though that Town Manager Act language already says shall.
Thank you. Anything else from the committee before we go to the audience? Questions or comments from the audience? Representative Kearns.
Thank you. I want to ask Sally, so it's awkward. Can I do it?
No, go to the microphone. We have people.
We
can't
call
see
each
you.
other, the other Sally.
The other Sally. Well,
Okay.
first of all, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your amazing work.
Thanks.
My question was, did your group talk about members of the review, I'm going to call it charter review, which is sort of the common vernacular for this. In many communities, the members of the charter review, the charter review committee is elected. And I'm just wondering, did you have conversations about how how that would be comprised? Some elected, some appointed, or was it always just from town meeting, appointed by the moderator, and was there any appetite for?
Interesting. No, we'd never considered the idea of people being elected to a review committee. That it never occurred. It never came up in our discussions. It never occurred to us. The only context we had is that the 10 of us were appointed by the moderator after a vote at town meeting.
Right.
So that's about as complex as we got.
I think that there is a specialized process, the town council might be able to help on this, that deals specifically with the creation and election of a town charter review group. Is that by statute?
I don't recall what the statute is, but there is a statute that states exactly which committees the moderator has the control over and gets to appoint members. And I can look into that.
But I think that to do what you're asking for, Sally, is not simply a review of our existing sort of documents or our existing legislation. That is a very different and substantive attempt to substantively change.
I wondered if you had
the-
delved
yeah.
into it. And the only reason being, because in the legislature, these charter reviews will come along, and the members in a standard charter, like Beverly went through this, I don't know, however long ago, long time. And those members were elected. I just wondered if it came up in your discussions, and I like the idea of shall.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Mr. Selectman DeJoco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Select Board member, excuse me. I will get it right.
That's okay.
Someday.
Not speaking on behalf of the Select Board,
Yeah.
but just speaking on behalf of this Select Board member. And the thought process behind changing it from town meeting to Select Board. There were a couple folds to that. The first one being that if this passes, this becomes the vote of town meeting. So we don't need another vote of town meeting. So if we say this shall be reviewed in 20 years, we don't need to go back to town meeting in 20 years and say, should we do it again?
Right.
Because this will be what is in the books.
Yeah.
So that was the first thought. The second one was, if we want to do it before the 20 years, then it has to somehow get to town meeting. And the way to get there will be to have the Select Board member have a warrant article that will go to town meeting. Yes, we can do a citizen petition, but it will be better if the Select Board member, if this is needed, we can have, the Select Board can have a warrant article that goes to town meeting, and then the process starts again. So the intent was never for the Select Board to take town meeting out of the picture. But this is town meeting giving the voice to the fact that we have to do this every 20 years.
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Can I say
Mr.
one-
Barrich?
Especially with the may in there, I think we've got a solution in search of a problem, right? So right now, the select board could establish a committee for anything, for any reason, to examine the best flavors of ice cream that, should be served at Cherry Hill. Town meeting could do the same. The town manager could do the same. Anyone can establish a committee with the intent of the committee finish and make a recommendation. I don't see why we need a special act of the state legislature to tell us that we can do the thing that we can already do. I think we can trust in the wisdom of future town meetings to know whether it needs to be done in 10 years or 20 years or 25 years or 30 years. I think we're at a problem in search of a solution.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Zubrick?
Thank you. Being the initiator of the citizens petitions, and it's been done at least 3 times. However, the issue is the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, is responsible for placing each and every warrant article on the town meeting agenda. In our process, that happened, and I don't know how it happened, but Mr. Chairman of the Select Board decided to authorize the town manager at that time to prepare a warrant article for town meeting. That warrant article was Article number 7, and it identified the composition of the review committee And the problem is that the review committee or the town moderator took it so strictly to only town meeting members, which was never intended in that warrant article. But it went through the process with, 9 town meeting members, or 10 people assigned, with Sally as the chairwoman. And the thing is that it went well, but it was influenced by the Board of Selectmen. And they should have stayed out of it, because this was a town meeting committee that was to review the town charter. The thing is that we did not follow the proper protocol of that warrant article. However, we needed some help to help Sally to get into the bug dust of our government. And our bug dust is pretty spread out. So there is a process. There's been a process. I've been proponent for this thing for the last 10, 15 years. The thing is that it has to initiate through the Board of Selectmen, because they are responsible for placing each and every warrant article on town meeting agenda. Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience? Further discussion from the committee?
Yeah.
Yes, Paul.
So if I vote for this, then,
As written.
right,
Yep.
I'm voting for the town moderator to choose.
No.
No?
You're voting on the language written in Article 16 in red as new language, with no amendments, no changes, just as written, as if you vote on it as is. Now, someone can make a motion that changes that language a little bit, and that may happen.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion,
Hold-
Mr.
could-
Chair.
Could you just hold off for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Before you make the motion? I guess I'm pretty interested in having members of this type of committee that Sally chaired be from any walk of life other than just town meeting.
Okay. Well, we don't have a motion yet, so let's see if there's a motion that creates Sally, there may be a motion that creates Sally's committee that then we can discuss, but that doesn't exist yet. Ted, do you have something to say?
Can I unpack what Kevin said quickly?
Yeah.
If this doesn't exist, this article, what's the process to review, if someone wants to review the town meeting act next year?
Exactly the same that we went through before. Yeah.
So either by a select board approved warrant article or a citizen's petition?
Correct.
It would go to the floor of town meeting, it would be voted on, and a majority vote. And that article may or may not stipulate how the committee would be created.
Correct.
Okay.
Can you follow that same logic and then as written, just walk through that? Because my head's been
So the logic is that, well, the logic is that we don't need this article because it's being overly prescriptive and might actually pigeonhole us and leave us less flexibility in how we address another review of this town, of the Town Meeting Act or the Town Manager Act in the future. That's where I'm coming out. We figured it out ourselves pretty easily this time. It sounds like it worked pretty smoothly. Now, all of a sudden, we're putting in language saying the select board can determines it. What if now we're constricting ourselves 5 years from now? What if we want to do it and we think that the process that we just used worked great? So why, like, I don't see the value that this article adds.
If, as I understand it, several things are suggested here. One, there's a time requirement, and I think that intent makes sense considering it's been not necessarily addressed. So that is clear. Then it's a question around process, and so we're having this hang up on the language around process, which I'm not entirely clear on, but the time limit is easy to understand why that exists, even though the process that we went through worked, without a requirement to do it, there's no telling when we might get around to it. So I am stuck there, like, I agree, 20, we need to do something. I'm lost between what I have heard and how we get
But
there.
the bar, I don't think the bar is that high to initiate a review. And I think so far, based on what I've seen, none of the changes have been drastic. But I would think you guys would probably say it's been quite time consuming and quite exhausting.
It was last reviewed in 1973.
Yeah.
53 years ago. So you can't say it worked because it took 50.
No, but how many attempts were made to, how many times did it go before the floor to have a charter review?
Well, Ted.
It's always there. It's like, I would draw a parallel to the size of town meeting. It sounds like we can debate that every single year at a meeting in January when the clerk makes a recommendation. But we were all, for whatever reason, including myself, thought that it was governed by this document. But it sounds to me like we learned through this process that it actually is not governed by this document, and the town clerk can make a recommendation. So my concern is, as it's written, that the town meeting can say, we want to review the charter. The select board can say, thank you for your input. And the next meeting, you come in and say, how about charter or town, the review of the act? And they say, oh, we reviewed it, it looks good. And that's, and now it's nullified, the way it's written. And I don't know how that enhances our law as a town versus leaving it for people to decide.
So, can I?
Go ahead, Mary.
All right. Having been involved and watched many, or been at many select board meetings, there were a number of years where the select board would be like, yeah, well, our charter has to be reviewed. So we got to figure out how to do that, like number of years. And I think the committee, it's intentional to say, this should be reviewed regardless of, if things change or not, but most likely things change over the course of time. Just like technology, it's old tomorrow. Like, is 20 years too far out? Some thought maybe, and is 10 years too soon? But I think having something that does say it must be reviewed is an important thing to have for the town. Rather than hoping someone's going to know we should do it in, 20 years, but those people won't be here potentially in 20 years to remember to do that.
Mr. Chair, can I make a motion, please?
You may, yes.
Make the motion that this act shall be reviewed by the town of Danvers at least once in every 20 years or sooner, as decided by a majority vote of the town meeting members in an annual or special representative town meeting. Following that is the language that was provided by Chairman Calhoun, except that rather than limiting it to town meeting members, it shall be to the town moderator may appoint any citizen of Danvers for that position.
And Sally, if you could just go back to the microphone, I just want to make sure we have it exactly for clarity's sake, because I got most of it, but you talk faster than I write. Not that you talk fast, I write slow. It is, we're changing the word to shall, and then upon the vote by the town meeting to review this act, the town moderator shall promptly appoint a committee of, and you're going to say residents of Danvers?
Citizen, yeah, residents.
Residents of Danvers.
Oh,
We're not
yes.
citizens, right?
That's right, I always.
Residents of Danvers
To conduct such review.
You're a citizen
to
of the
conduct
Commonwealth.
such review. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article, I'm really hoping we can get to 30 before we take a break. So if anyone needs to go to the bathroom, don't get up and ask questions. Article 17, Section 14. This updates language in Section 14 of the town meeting. 15, excuse me, this changes it to 15. For clarity and consistency, the changes don't alter the substance of the law, but improve readability. Is there any discussion from the committee? Any discussion from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Article 18. The recommendation is to delete this section in its entirety. This is Section 15 of the Town Meeting Act, and I'll just read it because it's brief. That we will delete, if this act is rejected by the registered voters of the town of Danvers when submitted to the said voters under Section 14, it may again be submitted for acceptance in like manner from time to time to such voters at any annual town meeting in said town within 3 years thereafter, but not more than 3 times in the aggregate. Any questions from the committee? Anything from the audience? Go ahead.
Can you check me a couple more of those? Those are good.
This is your recommendation.
Even if this thing is approved by the town meeting, is there a referendum process after that? That's the important part right here. That's for the residents, not for the town meeting members. So can anybody answer that question?
That would be a question for town council.
I'm not, could you
I
repeat?
think the answer to it is that there is, any action taken by town meeting always has the possibility of a referendum in response to that, and that this particular action is no different.
I think that's what needs to be made clear.
Sally?
Thank you. It's a good question, and I agree that the answer is that the Town Manager Act includes that referendum language for any action of town meeting. This language appeared, I think, based on my research, was in the, the town voted to create a representative town meeting. It had been an open town meeting. So this language is in the very first act that created a representative town meeting, and if it failed the first time, this language allowed for the issue of representative town meeting to come back, and then come back, and then come back. So this was really is one of those archaic provisions which just doesn't apply anymore. Representative town meeting is kind of built into our bones now. So that's the genesis for our recommendation to remove it.
Thank you. Anything else from the committee? Is there a motion on Article 18?
Move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Article 19, Section 1 of the Town Manager Act. The recommendation changes in this section further define the process for filling a vacancy on the Library Board of Trustees. Additionally, updates language in Section 1 for clarity and consistency. These changes do not alter the substance of the law, but improve readability and alignment with current practices. Any discussion from the committee on Article 19, Section 1 of the Town Manager Act? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Passes 7-1. Article 20, amending Section 2 of the Town Manager Act. The recommended change to this section is to add disqualification as a reason for vacancy. Additional changes are for clarity and consistency that don't alter the substance of the law. Is there any discussion from the committee?
What constitutes disqualification?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, through you to the committee, I think this was added, the review committee contemplated the recall bylaw. So they had changed and included recall, disqualification, and recall in each section where it would have been necessary. At the recommendation of town council, we don't have to include recall. We can put disqualification, and recall would be one of those disqualifications, or you move, or you, anything like that, that you make sure you're not qualified to be.
Okay. Anything else? Anything from the audience on Article 20? Is there a motion?
Move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 21, amending Section 3 of the Town Manager Act. The recommended changes allow the Select Board to delegate its appointment and removal authority to the Town Manager for specific positions. Additionally, updates language in Section 3 are for clarity and consistency. Any discussion on Article 21 from the committee? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
Move the article.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Article 22 is Section 4 of the Town Manager Act. The recommended change to this section is to add disqualification as a reason for vacancy. Additional changes are for clarity and consistency. Is there any discussion on Article 22 from the committee? Anything from the audience? Mr. Simon?
Yeah, Jim Simon, town meeting member, precinct 7. The word disqualification didn't get put into the paragraph, I don't believe.
Did not.
This is for strictly school.
Yes.
Yep.
It isn't there.
Yeah, it's not there.
Great eye.
Death resignation. Good catch, Jim.
Outstanding.
I had a lucid moment.
Where is, draft.
Yes.
Current process, in the event that section
in the
4
draft.
addresses a vacancy midterm, when a vacancy occurs, what is it now? This will make it so that the remaining members of the school committee would choose someone to fill a vacancy.
I think that's what happens.
That's how it is now.
Right.
It's not changing it.
Add disqualification.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, it is he's correct, it's a Scrivener's error in this section. Disqualification should be in there. I looked at the previous version.
And it goes after the word town, is that correct?
It goes after the word town.
Okay. So if we can, we'll make, assuming that goes through, we'll make that our motion. Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
Motion to move the article?
Second.
As, with including the
With the
word?
inclusion of
Yes.
the-
Disqualification after town.
Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Article 23. Updates language in Section 5 of the Town Manager Act for clarity and consistency. There are no, it does not alter the substance of the law. Anything from the committee? Anything from the audience on Article 23? All those in favor? Excuse me, is there a motion?
Move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article passes unanimously. Article 24, Section 6. It updates the language in Section 6 of the Town Manager Act for clarity and consistency, no substantive change of the law. Is there any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
Wait, good.
So, and I don't have any problem with the dollar value here going from 10,000 to,
That's the
Well,
next, that
that's
was
the
the
next
next one.
that this one?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I missed that.
Is, nothing from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 25. The recommended change is to delete the cap of $10,000 and replace it with a sum equal to 0.02% of that year's annual town budget. Additionally, updates language for clarity and consistency. Wally?
Hey, I do have something, thank you. So I don't have a problem with the dollar value of this, in so much as where's the money coming from? I mean, we have an account in the finance committee. You have stipend account on the select board. You know, when you decide to go and research something, where do you grab the money from? Sorry, I'm looking over here because I think the answer's coming.
Well, yeah.
from me, but really, it's coming from you.
Go ahead.
It says as may be appropriated, so
Right.
you'd have to go through the appropriation process.
So, where,
Okay.
where-
I mean, it could come from free cash, it
Could be, yeah.
could come from any of the
Most likely
current.
free cash.
Right.
Yeah.
Could come from, technically, I suppose, it could come from FinCom Reserve if we moved it over there.
Again, my understanding of this is, which we've never
Never
used
used it, right.
utilized, but basically, the select board has no authority to expend money. all money has to be expended through the
Recommendation.
no, through the town manager. Once it's been appropriated, the actual spending of the
Free
money.
cash. We move free cash
Yeah.
without appropriation?
But in this case, the problem is that the investigation is probably going to be of the town manager.
Right.
So, yeah, so, who may not be willing to spend money for that particular investigation. So the process here is to provide the select board with their own independent mechanism for expending money. Yeah.
Anything else from the committee?
Mike, can you repeat what you just said?
Really fast?
No, not the whole thing, just the end.
So, so basically, the select board has no ability to basically spend money. They have, the only person the only entity in the town government that can really spend money is the town manager. In this particular situation, the select board would be investigating something about the town manager, and the town manager might not.
Hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically, might not be willing to expend that money. So this gives them an independent mechanism to be able to
Get those
expend
funds,
money.
yeah. Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 26. This is amending Section 8 of the Town Manager Act. The recommended change removes the Danvers residency requirement for the town manager. Additional updates are for clarity and consistency that don't change the substance of the law. Is there discussion from the committee?
I would just say this, that when we did review this back in 1997, I would be squarely in the group of people who was supportive of the idea that we had to maintain the residency requirement, that it was an important component. Over the course of the last, whatever it is now, 20-something years, I have changed my mind with that because the world has changed, and it is my belief that there is no reason and no real enormous benefit to have our professional manager who's going to run the corporation also live in Danvers. And however, I think that there is a value to at least limiting it to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which I think is what the board has said. So I do believe that there'd be some value in adding language that says that the town manager shall be resident of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts during the term of office.
Anyone else from the committee?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Wally.
as much as I'm with this, I'm gonna end up talking to you because. Okay. And we've talked about this. We extend a 5-year contract. And
If you're going to talk, put the microphone down.
to bend the same place all.
Well, now-
But,
now-
we extend a 5-year contract, and as much as that's a professional contract, it's initially to entice somebody to come to our community and represent our community, which you do anyway, so. And she was willing, or is willing, I don't know where this is going, but, if we turn it into just another job, then we kind of diminish the role except for in the professional value of it. So, it's, as much as I know I'm outnumbered here, part of the contract part of this was to entice you and your expertise to come and be part of the community for more than 5 years. Going through the process, which had nothing to do with you, what was conveyed to us through the hiring was that the average lifetime, the average time on task here would be 3 to 5 years for a town manager. Right or wrong. If that's what it's going to be, then it really is just a job because, as you're well aware now, you're probably just going to hit full stride coming into year 3. So, I'm looking for something that might entice you to stay past your 5-year contract at this point, which we already have, so we're not even discussing that, but, the ability to have another town come in and poach you, for lack of a better term. Which, everybody who watched the process we just had, we had a candidate who literally used it for,
Leverage.
yeah, leverage with their own community, so. As much as thank you for being here and all that, for the reason for having a contract and having a residency requirement would be more long-term than short-term, so that's all I had.
Can I ask one question of the town council? if we remove from the statute the requirement that the town manager be a resident, would that restrict the select board in their negotiations with a contract with that particular candidate from requiring that they live in Danvers?
You mean if we removed it from
Yeah.
this act?
But they
Put it in a job description, right?
But yet, when they enter into a contract, which also has provisions in it that deal with that, if they added in that contract as part of the negotiations that they wanted that individual to move here, the fact that we don't have it, I guess my point is, I've always felt as though that in some respect, this restricts the select board's ability to be able to go out and find the best candidate and to be able to fully negotiate their deal with that candidate, because they can only take people who are willing to live in Danvers. However, it doesn't restrict them if there's 3 members of the select board that are so strongly in the belief that that this should be a resident, then they in turn could add that to the contract that they negotiate with them.
That's correct, and they could make that part of the negotiating process. But as I said at one of the select board meetings, there are other criteria. If the person's not able to get to work because they live too far
Yeah.
away, then they're not doing their job, and
Yeah.
the selectmen aren't going to keep them.
But once again, one of the arguments is that, our pool of applicants would be so small. The process we just came through, I don't think there was an applicant, even the ones that weren't considered, that was from more than 25 miles away. I mean, there wasn't any, search for, in terms of our last town manager who came from a ways. We didn't even look that far away. And I'm wondering where this whole thing came from, because, I'm looking for, and I'm hoping that we have a great CEO and CFO sitting over here, and it shouldn't matter where he or she came from. You're either a good manager, right? I mean, so, sorry to have to, talk in front of you and over you, but you're either a good manager or you're not, right? I'm really not looking for, specifically, I'm looking for some municipal experience, but I'm not looking necessarily Massachusetts experience. If I have a great manager, then, theoretically, her staff, sorry, I'm to her again, the staff would be more than capable of adapting to Massachusetts law. So, the fact that we were talking about limiting our pool, and the pool that we just came through was so limited anyway, didn't really seem to be a good argument to me. So.
Eric?
What I would generally say is, as a newer resident, what I have observed, residency requirements are a stretch unless you're providing housing, particularly in the market that we're dealing with now.
Once again, negotiable, right?
Right. Well, everything is negotiable, I would agree. And if I felt strongly that I wanted my leader to live in a community, that would be like, if you want your mayor to live in town, the governor to live in town, then there's a residence provided, and then that becomes easy. It's a stretch. I mean, clearly, it's removed here, so it's almost, but if it comes back up, it is a stretch to expect someone to live in a community when mobility is restricted based on affordability and access, market conditions that we don't necessarily control. So I think that's a slippery slope.
I would agree.
Right? Unless you provide it, right? There's always a unit. Like we have a two-bedroom unit always available. It's easy to put that in if you offer that. And if you don't, then I would shy away from it. With respect to the Commonwealth, I'm game. I think if you have someone who doesn't live in the Commonwealth, isn't willing to come, you have the option to just not consider their candidacy. And I think that's fair game.
So Arthur, did you have anything?
No, I mean, the bottom line on all this, and you guys might remember this from the committee, I think we were told that there's only about five towns that still has a residency requirement.
Right.
So, I mean, that just shows you that the fact is you can't limit yourself to just having people that have to reside in the town. And the point about housing is also a good point, too. So it's just what the world, if you want to get the best manager now, that's what the world's going to require. You can't require them to live in your town. You're just going to have a limited pool.
Yeah, Mary?
I was thinking about this too earlier, and then I was like, oh, they should have to live in the Commonwealth if they're hired, only because I could commute from New York, a 30-minute flight. I could take a train, 3 hours. I mean, is anyone going to do that? No, but I think not having that requirement after hired kind of opens it up for anything, so.
But the selectmen have the ability to assess that when they decide whether or not they're going to hire somebody. So
Exactly.
if they think
True,
they're going to be
true.
flying in from New York, they're probably not going to hire that person.
True, but after being hired, you could move wherever you wanted if you didn't have.
And they could,
So,
you know,
then fire 'em, yes, sure.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Paul?
I agree
We gotta
with
get to
what-
30 so we
with
can
what
break.
was- I'll pass.
Thank you. Ted?
Yes.
Yes, send it
So,
over.
Sally, you guys, through you, Mr. Chair, if I might, your recommendation as a committee was to remove it and use this language, is that correct?
No.
No.
Our review committee's suggestion was the sentence that's been crossed out. Our suggestion was, said town manager shall not be required to be a resident of the town or of the Commonwealth. That was our committee's suggestion. After months of work, talking to lots of people, that was our recommendation. The select board voted to strike that.
And replace it with the
Just
Commonwealth?
delete it, just delete it,
Okay.
just
I think
delete
it was
it.
just removed.
And I disagree. I think it's important to have an affirmative sentence that says at least this, said town manager shall not be required to be a resident of the town. People got into this big thing, Commonwealth or not, New Hampshire, Western Mass, I mean, it went around and around and around.
Yeah.
I
It
think,
was maddening to watch, yeah.
yes, I think it's okay and appropriate and important that there should be an affirmative sentence saying the town manager shall not be required to be a resident of the town. Because, as Mike Landers was saying, without that affirmative sentence, a future select board could possibly make it a requirement, because there's nothing about it at all in the Town Manager Act. So I think it's important to say it. The comments about how your most recent pool was all people who were close by, well, you've got to remember, that was because our current Town Manager Act says the town manager shall be a resident of the town. So that's why you got a pool of local people. I'm sure they're excellent. We have an excellent town manager. But what we're trying to do is eliminate the thing that was a restriction, in my view, in our last search. I always have to reject this idea that was mentioned a few minutes ago, too, about how the last town manager kind of just passed through and leveraged the work here to another community. That town manager here was here for 10 years.
No, that was about one of the
About a
candidates. One of the
candidate. It's about
candidates
one
did
of
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'll get up that little soapbox.
Point taken, it was for something else, yes.
But thank you, that helps. So does that clarify what, our committee's recommendation
Good point.
is not in this warrant article?
Okay. But I don't want to say substantively, because I don't want to belittle the clarification that you've made. But so the distance between you and this article is that you want it to be more assertive in saying that they don't need to be a resident of the town, as opposed to this, which just omits reference entirely.
True.
Yeah, I think there's three options.
Yep.
One option is what we have, which is that the town manager shall reside in Danvers. On the opposite extreme is what the board requested or submitted, which was that the town manager does not have to. And then there's the middle ground, which is what I've sort of alluded to, which is that the town manager does not have to, but the select board, in negotiating the contract, would have a right to be able to create that as a condition of their employment. And I fully appreciate all three arguments, and I certainly appreciate the argument from the committee that looked at this. Me personally, my personal belief is that we need to give the select board, who are ultimately going to be the one that hires this individual, as much flexibility as possible. And that flexibility is best given with them being able to negotiate a potential component to this that says that individual does have to move here. And it's because the decision of hiring a town manager even though that town manager shall be professional and shall run this municipal corporation, that decision is a highly political decision. And how that goes about it should remain in the political realm, because those elected officials are the ones who make it.
Well,
And-
if I may, to just kind of address that issue, there's a sentence here that says, "Said town manager shall be appointed without regard to his, her, their political beliefs." Let's just say that was the issue we're talking about instead of residency. And let's say the select board's recommendation was just to eliminate that sentence. We don't need a sentence like that because, of course, political beliefs don't matter. So there's no affirmative statement in the Town Manager Act saying that a manager is selected without regard to their political beliefs. So at some point in the future, since there's no sentence saying that, could the select board possibly choose somebody because of their political beliefs? And as a town, this is the town charter, town meeting gets to vote on it. The town wants it clear, loud and clear, political beliefs isn't part of the analysis, isn't part of the process of hiring a town manager. I feel that same way about having an affirmative sentence saying the town manager shall not be required to be a resident of the town, because I think it's a really important asset, a positive. It gives the town a lot to have an affirmative statement in its charter document to say that's not a requirement here. I think we're undermining ourselves by not including it.
Can I, so one thing in the context of listening to you too, if we affirmatively put that in the document, and there's a great candidate in Western Massachusetts where clearly that their present location is just not suitable for the job, and if we say you may not make it a requirement to live in Danvers, if they're moving from Pittsfield, we're gonna negotiate, I just as soon say we'd like you to move to Danvers as opposed to we'd like you to move to somewhere in Essex County, but not in Danvers because we can't say Danvers like that. And because it's on paper, all of a sudden now we can't do that, and I don't. So I kind of like I'm kind of coming out like leaving it as is. And the other point I would make is later on that the select board can pretty much get rid of a town manager with a majority vote for no reason. The way I read the act later.
Well, there's some.
They might have to compensate.
And so on and so
There's.
But also, let's think about this Pittsfield candidate.
Yep.
And the discussion comes up most likely during the course of the screening and the interviews and all that stuff. Gee, Pittsfield, that's 90 minutes away. How do you feel about that? Would you ever think about, maybe moving closer so it's not as big an issue? And you listen to what the candidate has to say, and that candidate convinces you that 90-minute drive is not going to be an issue. But a couple of months after they've come to the job, it is becoming an issue. It's a problem. It's a problem for some reason. The person misses meetings or doesn't attend meetings that he or she was expected to attend, or whatever. Some problems come up. The hiring authority is the select board. And the select board can say, we want to do a little performance review, and we're a little concerned about this issue. Because the issue isn't how far they live and how long it takes them to drive. The issue is their performance on the job. Right. And if the select board feels, and the select board is elected, so they'd be having the input of constituents, if the select board feels, this person isn't working out, they can take some action. And so I just think it's, you can bring any hypothetical you want over and over, lots of different, well, what about this situation or that situation? Is Franklin close enough? Is Springfield too far? You can just get yourself all, in a rabbit hole and not get out of it. I think the important thing is that as a town, we are in a better position if we say the town manager does not need to be a resident of the town. That's just where I'm coming from. I mean, I could go on and on and on about why, but we spent
I
a
agree
lot
with
of time on the issue.
I agree with that because I don't think we should ever be required to force somebody to live in the town. Again, housing is an issue, number one. Number two, sometimes you may want your, I don't think any of the superintendents that I can remember of schools have lived in Danvers. And sometimes, you don't need to be available 24 hours a day to your neighbor to come and knock on your door. So I don't think it makes any difference at all whether the town manager lives in town or doesn't live in town. And I don't think we should I think we should specifically say in this article that they don't have to live in the town. I think that makes the most sense.
And I
So
certainly-
I'll stop with my question. I'm inclined to support it as is.
Thank you. Anyone else from the committee? Questions from the audience? Coley?
I'm with you. I think we should give.
Coley Rybicki, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. I'll get to the original reason why I'm up here in a second, because I have a couple questions, one for the chair and one for legal counsel. But with respect to the conversation that just was had in terms of the two searches we've recently conducted for a town manager position, I was on the original search committee that brought Steve Barthard to our town. And I think the way these two searches were conducted were vastly different. I think the current administration focused locally in the local area and with MMA, and our search committee conducted a national search. So we went way outside of Massachusetts, and there's a reason why Barthard was in Avon, Connecticut. We had someone from Arlington, and we had someone from Hamilton next door. And you know, it all comes down to what are the expectations of the job. So we had in our expectation that you would move to Danvers. Barthard was offered the job, and that was on him to make his decision whether he's coming to Danvers or not. So I think all of this stuff is all intertwined in terms of what's your expectation and how did you conduct your search. So I think you had a smaller pool of candidates because you look small this time around. Okay, that's my personal opinion, whereas before we looked and we ended up with a guy that was here for 10 years. Not a bad search, all right? So the reason I'm up here right now, I have a question for the chair, and then I have a question for legal counsel, if I may. The last part of this section, Section 8, I'm going to read it. If required by the Select Board, the town manager shall execute a bond in favor of the town for the faithful performance of the duties of said office in such a sum and with such surety as might be fixed or approved by the Select Board. Can someone help me understand the philosophical reasoning why we would do that?
I'm going to look to Maureen on that one. Is that
We didn't discuss that at all.
Kate, maybe?
Well, my question for legal was, all right, so part two of my question. Well, number one, we should take this out of here. I don't know why it's here, and if anybody can explain why it's here, we should take it out. And then B, my question of legal counsel was, of all the entities in Massachusetts that are using the town manager form of government, have you seen this? This just looks goofy to me.
Yeah.
I have not seen this provision, through you, Mr. Chair. I have not seen a provision like this.
That's a good question.
Requiring a bond, performance bond from a town manager. I don't know if it's a contractual thing that, but it's in this act, so it was discussed at some point, it was put in this charter essentially. No, I have not seen a provision like this.
So it's not state mandated, right?
No.
No. It's been through the Select Board, it's been here, and nobody's questioned this? Take it out.
I don't have a problem with keeping it, per se. It's just an insurance policy for, in your case, handling money. If you misappropriate it, then you bonded yourself and bonded the town for it.
But it says.
Do we use it? We don't
Faithful
use it.
performance of the duties of the job. We know what those are.
Right, but that being said, any misconduct, it's like having your professional engineer license bonded, or,
Put it on everybody that's
Once
a
again.
salaried employee here then.
you could. I mean, is anybody else here bonded besides me? And it's because I'm in so many different places, but,
I would recommend we take this out.
Thank you, Coley.
Thank you.
Can someone explain I stare at Wall Street screens all day long. A bond means different things to me than it might be to other people. What exactly does that sentence mean?
Well, it's not something that the Select Board did the last time around, so.
no.
All I can tell you is, this language was in the act that we reviewed, and nobody could explain why it was or wasn't there, which is why the language about if required by the Select Board gets in there. Apparently, it has not been required in the past, and as Council mentioned, it's considered a performance bond, much like in the construction business where a bond is given to stand behind the promise of the contractor to do the work. Sometimes you'll see bonding as a requirement for appealing a decision of the planning board or the ZBA or something. So bonding is not completely out of the question. It's kind of where, I think currently people are less and less familiar with the concept of a performance bond. We don't know why it was in the act as if we reviewed it. We didn't know enough to say, let's pull it out, but we did restrict it to just if requested by the select board.
So
We didn't feel we knew enough to take it away from if the select board wanted to have one.
From a historical perspective, I think, as you've seen, a lot of the issues that we have with this is the fact that this was really one of the very earliest of the Strong Town Manager Act forms of government. So the language that goes back to the 40s is oftentimes, as you had said before, archaic. Bonds at that time were very common for people who were in a fiduciary responsibility. And so this is reflective of that. Probably the only time that we, as you said, that we really see it now is in regards to instances in which a personal representative of an estate that can't get all of the assents of the participants is required to provide a performance bond as part of their performance of the duties. So it's not completely out of the realm. By putting it required by the select board, if required by the select board, is fine by me, if you want to put it that way. But again, it's probably fairly unlikely that a select board at any point is going to request it or require it as part of the negotiations when they hire somebody.
Lauren, did you have a question? And then Mark.
Not really a question, more of a clarification. I have concern that the warrant language you received wasn't actually what the select board agreed upon when it comes
Lauren,
to.
I'm going to stop you right there. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the language we have is the warrant that they voted on at the, what was the date? The January 7th meeting.
Correct, but that's not what they directed the language to be amended to at the December 16th hearing.
I can certainly appreciate that. This is the language we have in front of us that they voted on to send to us. This is the language that we have to discuss.
Okay, so even though they didn't discuss it again and say, we're changing our minds, we're just supposed to go with language that they didn't agree on. They changed it completely, but they never had a discussion that they were going to then change it again. So they agreed that they were going to put in, but shall reside in the Commonwealth on December 16th. It was struck completely in the draft warrant, and then they approved it, but didn't make any mention of why. So
That is an
that's
issue
concerning to
you
have to
have.
vote on something that I saw them vote one way, the language was changed without any discussion of it, and now we're being asked to vote on something that was not what they actually agreed on. So that's my concern as a town meeting member that's voting on this.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate that. Mike had mentioned earlier that he would be amenable to including Massachusetts. It's something I would certainly support. I think it would be something that makes sense. We're going from a very finite group of, or a very tight requirement, and broadening it exponentially by Massachusetts. And I understand that, yes, New Hampshire is closer than some parts of Massachusetts. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I would certainly be supportive of amending it to include Massachusetts myself. I don't know about other members of the committee, but that's certainly where I'm landing. But that's what I got. I'm just going to let Mark go first. He was up next. Go ahead, Mark.
Just to go back to the discussion that we had in regard to bonding, I believe, and Mike, maybe you can confirm this, the Board of Selectmen have a bond on each and every one of them. They're part of the insurance policy in the town hall. So that's an issue that's, I don't know if they even go out to the insurance company anymore, but it was in place at the time when I was on the board, and Mike maybe you know as well. But I think that is something, it's an insurance policy for you not screwing up financially. That's what it comes down to. It's a fiduciary responsibility, like it was said before. Now, let's go back to the residency requirement. The town manager's position is a professional position, similar to my position as an engineer, your position as whatever you did in your past life, and your position wherever you've been, working. So when you go and apply for a position, do you have a professional requirement that you have to be resident in that town? And I'm sort of changing my mind from the original position years ago, and similar to what...
Can you just clarify one thing for me?
What's that?
Are you actually saying that you don't support the residency requirement? Because if we're going to get there, and I use you as my reverse barometer, this is going to be a real problem for me.
Then I may change your mind. The reason is that it's a professional position. It is not an elected position like you were talking about before. A mayor is totally different. A selectman. How would you like to have a selectman live in Middleton and run the town here? That's something that should never happen. The thing is that we're making such a big deal about it, and it all started at the review committee, and the Board of Selectmen and the chairman of the Board of Selectmen at that time came in and begged the committee to release that requirement. It is I think it's a wishful thinking. It would be great if the town manager lived in the town, because then they would feel the high taxes, the school department, the way they're going, the water and sewer department, the way they're going, and they're paying the bills. That is what's really needed from an elected official. In this regard, what we have to realize that this is a professional position, and we cannot rely on that position to be the position of a mayor or a Board of Selectmen chairman or whatever. So it's just like, well, I had my jobs, I went all over the country. I didn't have to live here. I chose to live here. So Michael, I think what you have suggested, through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I'm superseding
That's okay.
the protocol, but your position was there were 3 different scenarios, correct?
I don't know if that was my position.
That was yours. All right, now let's get to business.
All right, thank you.
But I think, it's something that the selectmen, when they choose the new town manager or have chosen the town manager, have that in their quiver to be able to require it if they feel like it's necessary. You don't want anybody from Oshkosh Bagosh to come down here and run this town, do you? So the thing is, if we can give the select board a ability to make that requirement, I think that will be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Nova? Okay, but if you get up and do the New Hampshire thing again. Oh, God.
Nova 70, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. In regards to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts residents required, it doesn't make any sense. It's arbitrary. Sure. There's no reason, so don't put it in. If it's arbitrary, why would it be in there? That's all.
There are lots of arbitrary things. Tax classification's arbitrary.
Yes, but why do they need to live in Massachusetts? Why would they need to? What's the actual reason?
Because we want them a little closer.
Closer
wanna
than
guarantee-
Seabrook?
Than Seabrook, yes, I want, yeah.
You want North Adams
And we want-
over Seabrook?
Well, North Adams is really nice.
Very,
It is, but very far.
Yeah, some things are just sometimes you just have to pick a number. That's just the reality of it.
No, you don't. But you don't here. That's the thing. Okay.
Point made.
I'm working on it. Okay, anything else? Is there anything?
Is this going anywhere, or are we done?
I hope we're done.
So I would like to think we could just give the select board, the hiring board, the ability just to waive the residency requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Would solve a lot of problems.
Is there a motion?
Motion to move the article.
As presented? As written?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
No. That's, raise your hand if you said no.
Yeah, whoa.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Exactly what you predicted.
Yeah, 5.
4.
4.
So you're 4-4.
We 4-4?
As long as we're not, all we need to be is 5.
No.
Well, that's 5.
I thought it was 5.
5-3, yeah.
Okay. So we need to come up with something else that 5 of us can agree on.
I make a motion that we pass the article and put back in the language that says said town manager shall not be required to be a resident of the town or of the Commonwealth.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh. Was that 4? Just put your hands up for clarity. 4, okay. Round 3.
This is democracy in action. You know, enjoy it, folks.
All right. I move that we, same language, except we add in the language that says the town manager shall be a resident of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts during the term of office.
Okay?
So before you do that, if we just give the select board the ability to waive the residency or state requirements, would that not solve all of it?
It would allow that, it would,
Allow them to hire somebody out of New Hampshire if they're so qualified that we can't go without them.
yeah.
If my
And they
candidate
would-
came out of Gloucester, I could waive my residency requirement. If they're coming from, Akron, Ohio, I don't waive the residency requirement. If you're coming this way, you're coming here.
It would not waive it for, you'd have to be a Massachusetts resident during your term.
If you want to put that in, I just.
That's
That's what's on
the
the floor.
motion on the floor right now.
All right.
Which I second.
Danvers, no. Massachusetts, yes.
But does that constrict someone from negotiating that as part of a hiring process?
I would say leave all the negotiation with the select board, all of it.
So you say Massachusetts, does that constrict the board from saying Mr. Jones from or from Michigan?
So I can't speak for the Board of Selectmen, and Maureen, maybe if you.
I'd like to speak.
Yeah,
if I
go
could,
ahead.
Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, board members. We had a lot of deliberations as, bring out the popcorn, right? Check it out. But the select board agreed that details and decisions will be contemplated during the hiring process, and we do not need it to be in legislation. So that's what we stood for. Like Wally's saying, during hiring, we're gonna be the ones that are gonna do that.
Now, I can say, from experience, we have a town, I hate to use you as the example, but you're sitting right
You're
here.
here, sorry.
We have a current town governing document that says the town manager shall reside in Danvers during the term of their office, right? Our current town manager, sorry to point you out, as far as I know, does not reside in Danvers. So there are certainly, and I hope maybe someday she would be able to move here. It has not prevented the select board from engaging that employee for that job, right? So much of it is left up to the negotiation.
But the current act,
Yep.
the act that's currently in place,
currently have, yeah.
says the town manager, hang on, let me get to it again. shall not be required to be a resident of the town or the Commonwealth when appointed, but shall be a resident of the town during the term of office.
It's ambiguous in when during the term of office,
Right.
and I think
Right.
that's how we were able to do that. And so if it said the Commonwealth during the term of office, then, well, at some point, on one day, they would have to be a resident of the Commonwealth. I think that would fulfill the requirement.
Is any of this retroactive?
It's all negotiable, it's still
would be
all negotiable, though.
it would
If you're
be
looking for our sitting
on the-
manager, it's still all negotiable,
Do we have
right?
something on the floor?
We do have we have a motion on the
Yeah,
floor.
we have a motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor that would, and
Sorry.
that would say, said town manager shall not be required to be a resident of the town, but shall be a resident of the Commonwealth during the term of office thereof. Is that what I've got?
So that is if you think about it, it's a bit of a compromise.
Yes.
Right? Because that does say that they don't have to be, they can't require them to be a resident of the town, but they can require them to be a resident of the Commonwealth. They have to be a resident of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
So in essence, we're taking the turkey and we're splitting it in half.
Yeah. We have a motion and a second.
Well, you got what you want. Yeah, well, they don't have to be a resident of the Danvers, and
No.
they can't make it be a resident of Danvers.
Is there any further discussion from the committee? All those in favor?
My question, is this the only vote? Are we,
This is the, well,
This
this
is
is
it.
the,
Current
if
vote.
if we
This
get
is
five
no,
votes.
so it's not a vote, motion to amend and then we vote on it.
This
We're
is the
voting
motion.
one shot.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a third go, it's not one shot.
Said town manager shall not be required to be a resident of the town when appointed, or, okay, I'm sorry.
Just
No.
of the
Of the
town.
town.
Resident of the town, but shall be a resident of the Commonwealth during the office thereof. Got it?
Yeah, that's my motion, yep. Yeah, that was, yeah, sorry.
Not be resident of the town, not be required. So
Correct.
the affirmative that Sally was.
Yeah,
Correct.
keep the affirmative stays in, and then, but shall be a resident of the Commonwealth during the term of office thereof. All those in favor of the motion as currently presented, say aye.
Aye.
Oppo- Yeah, let's do, opposed?
Where are you at? Are you ayes?
I'm an aye.
Ayes. We're ayes.
Uh-oh. Oh, five.
Five,
votes.
thank you. All right.
Nova's right about this.
She probably is.
But why would you legislate?
Article 27.
I agree with Nova.
Section 9 of the
Getting
Town
into the
Manager
board,
Act.
'cause, you know.
If everybody's unhappy, we must have found a compromise, huh?
This updates language in Section 9 of the Town Manager Act for clarity. No other, and for no other reason. Any discussion from the committee on Article 27? Anything from the audience? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Move the question.
We have to move.
Move
Oh,
the
sorry.
article.
So moved.
Can you
Second.
tell I have to use the restroom?
Second.
I'm getting to 30.
Before 11
We have,
o'clock.
all those in
Move the
favor?
second. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Article 28 amends Section 10 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language for clarity and consistency with no other significant changes. Although, is there a motion? I'm sorry. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
No.
Is there anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
Move the article.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if we'll get to 30, considering 29.
I'm going to accept taking the break now and know that we almost got there. We will come back. We will come back and begin promptly at 10 o'clock.
Thank you. Gavel.
9:55.
There you go. Article 29, amending Section 11 of the Town Manager Act. The recommended changes include giving the Select Board discretion to pay the town manager up to 3 months of salary after removal without cause. Additionally, updates to language in Section 11 are for clarity and consistency. Any discussion from committee members? Ted?
Yeah, what is the reason for adding the language about paying the salary thereof for up to 3 calendar months?
Maureen?
It's got to be responsible.
Okay. Kate?
Hold on, sorry. No, we're on 28, right?
Article 29.
29.
Sorry.
Section 11.
29, so we have, yeah.
I'm just going to
It's in
update
our
it.
contract.
So the select board's changes here were related to distinguishing between cause and not cause. The 3 months was in the previous act. So I can't speak to why they had it, but the select board.
So,
They continued it and gave the option of shall, or may.
okay. So that's not new language.
The may is the only change.
Okay, that's my only question.
Paul?
Is cause in the present contract? Town manager, Town Manager Act, sorry.
I want to make sure I get it right.
No?
No.
And
The separate, they don't distinguish between with cause or without cause. The discussion at the select board was really about the difference of if the removal, this is an odd one for me to check, but I suppose, but if the removal of the town manager, for instance, is if it's stealing or with cause, the original act still allowed to be paid up to 3 months, and the select board was not, didn't want to do that.
Yeah, we didn't want to do that at that time. We wanted to remove that.
Okay, do you have a strong definition of cause? Or is it something ambiguous?
Well, like she said, stealing, or,
Oh, okay,
something
Yeah.
like that, Paul, something like that.
okay, I got it.
Kate, do you want to handle the cause piece?
Yeah, cause is basically anything that's in direct conflict with the contract or illegal,
That's clear.
like,
So basically, obviously illegal's illegal, but cause is something that should be in the contract prior.
yeah, direct
It's
contravention
basically,
of something in the
yeah,
contract.
right, okay, all right, thank you.
Or something illegal like embezzlement.
Yes,
Something like that.
yes, okay.
Mary?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Eric?
So if I understand it correctly, cause goes to contract terms, without cause, it's up to 3 months.
Cause also includes things that are illegal that you're not going to bother to put in a contract, like please don't steal money from us.
Yes, yes.
That, so
If it's for cause, then it's, okay, thank you.
I'm good.
Mike?
I mean, I think this is incredibly inartfully drafted, and I have some issues with some of the things in specific, but bottom line with this is that if we do get to a position where the select board needs to remove the town manager for whatever reason, they better act really, really carefully regardless of what we have in this act, so I'm not going to push too hard on it, so.
Wally?
So I don't, and I'm not really asking for, but understand the whole timeline to dismissal here. I mean, and I'm going to say stealing because it's the most obvious. If you're stealing, I'm not going to give you 30 days, and file something with the town clerk and then tell you that I'm thinking about fining you for stealing, during this whole front section of this. I'm literally going to take you and walk you to the door and keep you paid till you're convicted, but, your codes and your keys are gone. So I don't understand the whole timeline to this. I hate to do this. Can you give me or Maureen?
Well, I can just say that they worked from the original, and it's about due process, right? So
So now I'm
And
with
I-
Mike on this. It's like,
Member Landers spoke eloquently about this
Yeah.
earlier in the night, if you want to
I'm just pointing out what my confusion is and where I stand. It's pretty much right there. So that being said, I'm sure there'll be some more on it, so.
I mean, I'll say this, every town manager act that I looked at has a provision that deals with removal. And some are written better than others, some are longer than others. Not to take any shots at the group that worked on this, but I think it would have been a good idea to have looked at some of those other provisions rather than just simply working off of the one that we had. Because, for example, some of the ones that I looked were much better. But I do believe that to change it to what, let's say, another town has would probably be looked at as beyond the scope of what we have here. And so making that type of a substantial change from the groundwork that we had to a basically new component, I think would be problematic within the confines of that. So based on that, I think with what they were working with, they did is probably as best they can, so.
So I'm good.
Questions from the audience? Coley?
Coley Rybicki, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I promise this is my last time up here tonight. I spent 35 years in the HR discipline with many large companies in the Boston area, and I told myself in retirement I would write an employee relations textbook to write down all the cases of what I saw humans do in the workplace, because just when I thought I saw the most egregious thing, 5 days later something else came in the front door, and I'm like, there goes my book.
How's the book coming along?
I need to get to it. But I spent a lot of time looking at this article this afternoon, over 3 hours going over it. And I just have a little bit of feedback. And I think with all my HR training, I can only take a look at what's put in front of me. So I'll go slow so you can understand what was bothering me. And I promise not to keep you until midnight. But the select board, by a majority vote of the full membership, may remove the town manager. Okay, well, that's pretty clear. And then, at least 30 days before such proposed removal shall become effective, the board shall file a preliminary resolution with the town clerk setting forth the specific reasons for removing the person, and also give a copy to the person that's about to be removed, right? So I don't know in any time we've terminated somebody, we gave them 30 days' notice. You're about to get canned, whether it be for cause, right, or not for cause, right? And then the town manager may reply in writing to the resolution and may request a public hearing. That made my hair curl. Like, why would we give a terminated employee the opportunity to have a public hearing? Like, why don't we just bring back public caning? That's probably the closest thing to it, right? I don't understand why that's there, and that really bothered me. I've never heard somebody getting terminated. Let's go down the for cause part. Somebody did sexual harassment. Someone had child porn. Someone, you name it, I've seen it. And why would we give them a hearing and a public hearing to that effect? And then if I work my way down the page a little bit more, the words in here, in the event that the town manager's removal is for cause, the town manager shall be paid only in accordance with the terms of their employment contract. For cause, terms of their employment contract. So if I'm in year 1 and you're terminating me for cause, what this is saying is, I've got an employment contract that says I got another 4 years coming.
So the reality, just so you know,
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens. I think at one time, Saugus was paying 3 town managers because it's very similar to when you have a football coach.
Yeah, fully guaranteed.
If we're dealing with those elements with it, and I can tell you, Colin, I appreciate this, to stop it before midnight.
Yeah.
Of the probably 20 of these that I looked at, there were 2 that were very short and to some extent probably you would be happy with. Every other one of them was either more in-depth than ours or relatively the same.
Well, here's my answer to that, Mike, and I understand what you're saying. If you're terminating for cause, right, porn, child porn, sexual harassment, this says according to the terms of their employment contract. What you could put here is, we're only going to pay them until the last day worked.
Well, also, what's in the employment contract? Does the employment contract say you get paid if you're
Yeah.
terminated for cause? I don't know. I'm not going to ask Jill what's in her contract. But I'm assuming that's something like that's in the contract, that says that if you're terminated for cause, that you're not getting paid anymore.
I mean, and I appreciate everything that you're saying.
I don't know
Cody,
that that's there.
but
I don't either.
How
but
many?
I think I would assume it is.
How many jobs that you dealt with in that very long and were created by statute?
But I'm saying this is a chance to correct statute.
Yeah, but this is what the statutes have. This is a position that creates a requirement for due process for that particular individual. And all of these, and it's a different animal than other animals that you're dealing with this.
Well, let me defer to council. Does the state define due process for this, or does the town set it
Due process?
for termination?
I'd honestly have to look at the labor statutes. I'm not sure. I assume there is a definition for due process, as there would be for cause.
Right. And I think every company has the due process for handling it. I would think every
But
town has
towns
their.
can also have more stringent, the state statutes set the minimum statewide standards, and then municipalities can have additional bylaws or ordinances that have more stringent statutes.
All right, so let me jump down to one other spot here that said that, where it says for no cause, yeah, if the removal is without cause, right, the select board, in any case, can cause to be paid to him, her, them, the town manager forthwith, any unpaid balance of the salary due at the time of such removal. Right, so this is saying that we're not telling you why we're getting rid of you, right? But we're giving you an end date, and you're paying them through the end date. And then you're paying 3 additional calendar months following filing of the preliminary resolution. I think what, we can wordsmith the payment here, and I think it's wrong. I think this is, wordsmith is really wrong. But I don't know that, think about what this says. The select board's gonna vote to term someone 30 days from now, then the manager can write a response, the town can continue an investigation, and then we're gonna have a final report. It's like, okay, I'm only gonna put 1 bullet in you the first time, and then once I'm done with my investigation, I'll put the other 3 in you.
But I think we're overly focusing on the cause piece of this and not the without cause piece. I've been up here long enough to, it's possible, it's not impossible that a select board could choose to want to terminate a town manager because of a business, a decision they made, a tough decision they made in execution of their job. And as a taxpayer, a member of the finance committee, I would prefer that a decision like that have a hearing and the town manager have a venue to defend their decision at, in front of the select board and in front of the community. Because I don't always think that the 5 people that are on the select board are necessarily right. And I don't always think the town manager's right. But I think we're overly focused right now on cause. If somebody's caught stealing or whatever, like, I don't know, if I was caught stealing, I wouldn't want to go,
Under the
I wouldn't
contract.
want a public hearing.
If I stole, were you gonna give me the 4 years remaining on my contract?
It depends on what the contract says. I don't think that this,
This says you would.
I don't think it says that. That's not the way I read it.
Well, the contract's going to supersede that. Yep. The contract says that if you're terminated with cause, you're not paid. That's going to supersede the act. And if the contract says that if you're let go without cause,
Unpaid balance due at the time.
you may be entitled to your whole contract.
Like, hey, I was paid last Friday. Today's Wednesday. You owe me 3 days. You owe me 3 days salary. That's how I would. If I was a select board member and I was firing somebody for theft, that would be my answer. And I'd be like, you don't like it, unless your contract says otherwise, hire a lawyer.
But I would ask that you go read these words slowly, because with the emotion is not what's in writing. Right? And I can only interpret what's in writing.
Yeah, I interpret it differently.
Can I ask a question about contracts?
Sure.
How are not the details of the contract, when we enter into a contract, employee contract, including a town manager, who does that? Is there counsel involved? Because I'm thinking about the expertise that goes into writing a contract. Don't need to know the language. I'm presuming that contract negotiations have things in them that a professional contract would normally have in it. That's an assumption.
Yes.
We're in an interesting position here because Maureen was not in the contract negotiations. Kate was not the attorney, and I was on the other side.
But in terms of like attorney involved and right.
But I am, so what I learned from Rodney was, leading up to it was that as interim town manager, they worked with, Dee was in contract negotiations and Dan and town council.
And town council.
What they said.
Okay.
Okay.
But I will also tell you that through public records request, I did see a modification made. I'm not going to name the person. I saw a contract modification made to a contract that did not go through legal counsel.
Sally?
Enough of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coley.
Yeah, thanks, Coley.
Okay. I think that there's an error in the select board's language here. The first paragraph of this section says the select board, by majority vote, can remove a town manager, but they have to give 30 days' notice and the right to request a hearing. So that's the due process, to remove the town manager, 30 days' notice, the right to request a public hearing. Then in the second paragraph, which might be a little hard to identify because there's not a space, but the new paragraph begins at the left with the words, in the preliminary written resolution. You see where I mean? Yep. It says here, in that written resolution, the select board may remove the town manager. That's wrong, because they can only remove the town manager if they give the 30 days notice and the right to a hearing. So I think that this second paragraph really should say suspend, not remove.
Is that what your board recommended?
We recommended suspend.
So that was changed at the,
That makes a lot more sense, actually.
Suspend is in the original also.
So the select board, it was at the select board level that it got changed. So I think it should say suspend. And then, this language that Coley was just referring to, at the bottom of this page, it says, if removal is without cause, the select board shall cause to be paid to the town manager any unpaid balance of the salary due at the time of such removal. I think, again, it should say suspension or removal. It doesn't really matter which, but it's to be paid through the day that they're out the door. So I disagree with Coley that means they get paid their whole contract. They'd get paid through, January 15th, if today was the day they were removed.
Go up a little, Sally. Take a look at where the one that says for cause.
I see what you mean, but I see what you mean, that it says they'll be paid only in accordance with the terms of their employment contract. I see the sentence that you mean, and I do feel that there's a contradiction there. The language is was very cumbersome and very difficult to.
Now you know why my head hurt this afternoon.
Yeah. But anyway, my concern is just really that in that second paragraph, it should say suspend and not remove. That's the real gist of what I'm trying to bring up.
other lawyers thought the same.
Anything else from the audience? Back to the committee. Further discussion?
I'd be willing to make the amendment to change that to suspend.
Make a motion that includes the language.
Yes, as change it from remove to suspend.
Paul, did you have a comment?
No, my head's spinning right now.
Okay.
Seriously.
So
Did you make that? I'll second it if you made it.
Yeah, I make that motion.
Okay, you make the motion, just changing in the second paragraph, the word after, on the first line, from May, after May, from remove to suspend. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye, no.
Okay. Article passes 7 to 1.
30.
Article 30.
We made it. Time for a break.
Oh, I brought water.
Article 30 is just a language update for clarity and consistency, no significant changes. Any comments from the committee? Anything from the audience? Back to the committee, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article passes. Article 31, amendment to Section 13 of the Town Manager Act. The recommended changes in this section require the town manager to inform the select board of organizational changes, all personnel changes, and litigation. Additionally, additional updates are for clarity and consistency. Questions and comments from the board? Wally?
No, I'm actually going to reserve this. Go ahead.
Mike?
Yeah, so I'm going to offer a couple of amendments as it relates to the letter B and letter C. And it relates to my concern that the language there basically is ambiguous in regards to the notice and how the notice is supposed to be provided. And so basically the language that I'm going to recommend is at the end to change it in B, where it would see powers and appropriation of one department, commission, board, or officer to another. The town manager shall inform the select board of the taking of any action allowed under this provision no later than 45 days after taking such action. And then in C, similarly at the end, where it says otherwise provided in an applicable collective bargaining agreement, to add the town manager shall provide the select board with a written biannual report listing all such appointments and removals on or before December 31st and June 30th of each year. And the idea there with that is that I don't think the intent was for the notice to be prior to taking it, that there was an intent to sort of mother may I on this, but it certainly can be read that way. And as a general rule, when you don't have a qualification to notice, notice is considered to be something that has to be given before the action. Again, I don't think that was necessarily what's intended here, so I think it makes more sense to qualify that and make it clear that in the first case, that information has to be provided, which I think is what everybody wants, and it gives it a reasonable period of time, which is 45 days, to be able to provide that. In regards to the second one, we probably have a couple hundred a year of these personnel changes that occur. I know, for example, my role with the Essex County School Board, we basically on a quarterly basis provide the board. I'm on the personnel subcommittee, and we get a report by the Director of Human Resources that basically outlines all of those changes. And basically, that's what I'm saying here is that the select board should be kept informed of that. And by doing that with a written, basically, report a couple times a year, they're going to be able to keep up with that. And that's basically what I think makes the most sense in this. In regards to the rest of the stuff, I don't think there's really any substantive changes in regards to it. So I don't have an issue with that.
Okay, thank you. Arthur?
Nothing.
Eric?
Nothing. I like the amendments, though.
Mary? No. Paul?
All set. All set. I support the amendments.
I would also support the amendments. Thank you, Mike. Questions from the audience? Is there a motion?
So I'm going to make that motion. I'm going to provide you with a written copy of it, so it's a little bit more in depth.
So this would change the last sentence of Section B to the town manager shall inform the select board of the taking of any action allowed under this provision no later than 45 days after taking such action. And in Section C, the last sentence would be the town manager shall provide the select board with a written biannual report listing all such appointments and removals on or before December 31st and June 30th of each fiscal year. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article passes unanimously.
Throw it right over, but you already had that.
A few of them.
Article 32 is amending Section 14 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Anything from the committee? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article carries unanimously. Motion carries unanimously. Article 33, amending Section 15 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language in Section 15 for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 34, amendment to Section 16 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
Move the article.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 35. This updates language in Section 17 for the Town Manager Act for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
With what, we have 7 in favor with 1 abstention. Article,
yes.
and the motion carries. Article 36, to amend Section 18 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language in Section 18 of the Town Manager Act for clarity. It does not change the substance of the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 37, amending Section 19 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language in Section 19 for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Section 20, Article 38, amending Section 20 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language for clarity and consistency. These changes don't alter the substance of the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 39, amending Section 21 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language in Section 21 of the Town Manager Act for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 40, to amend Section 22 of the Town Manager Act. This article updates the language in Section 22 of the Manager Act for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The article passes, the motion passes unanimously. Article 41 amends Section 23 of the Town Manager Act. This updates the language in Section 23 of the Act for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 42 amends Section 24 of the Town Manager Act. This updates Section 20, the language in Section 24 for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 43 amends Section 25 of the Town Manager Act. This updates the language in Section 25 for clarity and consistency. These changes do not alter the substance of the law. Any discussion from the committee? No? Okay. Well, you have the look.
I look once in a while, all right?
No, CR.
Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
We have a
Second.
motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 44 amends Section 26 of the Town Manager Act. This updates the language of Section 26 for clarity and consistency, but does not alter the substance of the law. Any discussion? Anything from the audience? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 45 amends Section 27 of the Town Manager Act. For clarity and consistency, there are no substantive changes to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 46 amends Section 28 of the Town Manager Act. This update is only for clarity and consistency. It does not alter the substance of the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 47 amends Section 29 of the Town Manager Act. This is, again, an update just for clarity and consistency. Any discussion? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Just to note, we're jumping from Article 47 amending Section 29 to Article 48 amending Section 31. There were no changes to Section 30 of the Act. Article 48 amends Section 31 of the Town Manager Act. This is for clarity and consistency. It does not change the substance of the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
Motion and a
The
second.
only thing I would say is that just to make sure, there's a typo in which at the bottom of it, it says that the updated language in section 30, it should probably say 31. I'm guessing it might be that way the whole way down. Yeah.
Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Article 49 amends Section 32 of the Town Manager Act. Again, this is for clarity and consistency. There are no substantive changes to the law. Any discussion from the committee? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 50 amends Section 33 of the Town Manager Act. This updates language in Section 33 of the Act for clarity and consistency with no substantive change to the law. Any discussion? Anything from the audience?
I move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 51, to amend Section 36 of the Town Manager Act. This adds a new section requiring the Town Manager Act to be reviewed at least every 20 years or sooner by a majority of vote ensuing periodic evaluation and modernization. Here we go again. Hopefully much more concisely this time. Any discussion from the committee?
I think we need to amend this to reflect the same language as appeared in,
Not a, we make a motion recommending language, yes.
yeah,
Yep.
to reflect the same language as Article 16.
Anything else from the committee, other than matching the language to Article 16 of the Town Meeting Act? Anything from the audience? Okay, is there a motion?
Move the question.
We'll move to reflect the language to,
Yep.
as expressed.
Thank you.
And second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Article passes unanimously. Or the motion passes unanimously, excuse me. Article 52 amends Section 35 of the Town Manager Act. This is a minor housekeeping change related to the updating of the act. Questions from the committee? Questions from the audience?
I move the, oh, there's a question.
Oh, go ahead, Nova.
Want to see if we're paying attention, right?
That sense of humor will get you nowhere in life.
No more, No more candy for you.
I move the article.
We have a motion. Is there a
second.
second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 53 is amending Section 36 of the Town Manager Act. This is just a minor grammatical change. And this is the last one. Before I call for a vote, first of all, any citizen comment? I'm guessing no. I did just want to take a moment to recognize the fact that our longtime member, Mike Daly, his wife passed away recently, and just to share that the committee does send our thoughts and prayers to Mike and his sons, Michael and Douglas, and their family. Mike was a terrific member of our committee for many years, and Andrea was an outstanding member of the town meeting body for a number of years from Precinct 3, as well as a member, I believe, of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
River Committee, too.
And maybe even the River Committee, but a tireless advocate for our community, and we certainly are keeping the Daly family in our thoughts in the coming weeks and months. And with that, and I had meant to say that at the beginning of the meeting, so I apologize for throwing that in at the end, but I wanted to get that out there. And thank, again, the review committee for their tireless work. Sally and your tribe of volunteers, really.
Well done.
20 years off, so you have to do it again.
Yes,
Right.
and we look forward to seeing you all back here again in 20 years.
Or sooner, right?
So,
Yeah, but now that Mike's gone, can we reconsider 54 and
No.
actually?
And I'd also like to say thank you to Maureen, who's been chairing the Board of Selectmen this year and doing a wonderful job of that. Thank you, Maureen, for being here tonight, for your guidance, as well as to Kate Conley and Jill Cahill, our town manager, for being here tonight. We certainly appreciate all of the effort you put in. And, of course, you guys. It drive me crazy sometimes, but most of that was directed at you, Mike. But,
I realize that.
That's some good democracy going here
thank
tonight.
you, thank you all for participating. So, with that said, is there a motion on Article 53?
Move the article.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Article passes unanimously. And thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you at town meeting.